"If you leave this house with those keys," Dennis Bell said, "you are not my daughter anymore." Mara stood in her grandfather's living room, with one wet funeral shoe sinking into the old rug, and Walter Bell's brass keyring pressed into her palm. There were 9 keys on it. She knew what 7 of them opened. Brent gave a short laugh, as if their father had made a joke badly suited to the occasion. Owen stared at the cold fireplace. Outside, rain ticked against the windows. The funeral flowers crowded Walter's coffee table, sweet and damp, and already beginning to smell spoiled. "You don't mean that," Mara said. Dennis's face changed very little. That was the worst of it. He had delivered the same look when she dropped out of college, when her engagement collapsed, when she borrowed $300 and took 11 months to repay it. Try me. In the dining room, a silver tray held 4 untouched ham sandwiches under plastic wrap. 20 minutes earlier, they had been a grieving family dividing Walter's life into reasonable pieces. Now, Mara's brothers owned Belson's Roofing. Her father had Walter's tidy 2-bedroom house, and Mara had chosen a crumbling boarding house full of strangers. Nobody had expected her to say yes, least of all Mara. 3 hours earlier, she had stood beside Walter's casket, wondering whether the funeral home had combed his hair backward because they had never seen him alive. Walter always combed it to the side with water and a narrow black comb he kept in his shirt pocket. He said a man carrying his own comb could survive a tornado, a bad haircut, and most weddings. Mara had nearly corrected the funeral director. Then Brent arrived late, smelling of expensive rain and truck leather, and swept her into a hard embrace before she could speak. "There she is," he said, "our night nurse." Mara pulled back. "I wasn't his nurse. You know what I mean." She did. Brent had a way of making insults sound like family nicknames. He looked handsome in his charcoal suit, though the jacket pulled at the shoulders. At 32, he had their father's broad chest and Walter's talent for filling a doorway, as if he had been invited twice. He glanced toward the casket, then away. "Dad here? Front row. Still mad about the flowers?" He ordered a standing spray that said, "Beloved Founder." Brent winced. Well, technically, Grandpa hated the word founder. He said it made him sound like a shipwreck. That made Brent laugh for real. For half a second, grief loosened his face. Then Dennis called his name, and he went to stand with the family. Owen arrived 5 minutes later, carrying a folded umbrella and no coat. Rain darkened his white shirt from shoulder to elbow. "You own 3 rain jackets," Mara whispered when he slid into the pew beside her. 4. "So, this was a choice. I left them in the truck. That's still a choice." Owen's mouth twitched. He was 2 years younger than Brent and 3 inches taller, built narrow and restless. He did most of the complicated roof work because height settled him. On the ground, he rarely knew what to do with his hands. He glanced at Mara's dress. That new? No. It belonged to Rosa Alvarez in room 3 of Walter's boarding house. Mara had spilled coffee on her only black dress while driving Walter to an appointment in March. Rosa had appeared with this one still inside dry cleaning plastic and said, "Keep it until nobody is dead." Mara had not told her that was a dangerous loan in Walter's house. The organ music stopped. People adjusted themselves toward sorrow. Dennis spoke first. He described Walter as demanding, loyal, and devoted to family. Brent spoke about learning to roof at 14, though Mara remembered Walter making him pick up loose nails because he had fired a nail gun into a flower pot. Owen declined to speak. Mara had prepared 3 pages. When her turn came, she carried them to the lectern, looked down at Walter's backward hair, and folded the pages in half. "My grandfather stole sugar packets," she said. A few people laughed uncertainly. He had sugar at home, good sugar in a ceramic bowl, but every time we went to a diner, he put 2 packets in his pocket. He said you never knew when somebody's coffee would need saving. From the second row, someone made a sound between a laugh and a sob. Mara recognized Leon Price from the boarding house. Beside him sat Priya Shaw, still in Navy hospital scrubs, and Cal Mercer, whose tie ended halfway down his chest. Rosa occupied the aisle seat in a dark green dress, chin lifted toward Mara. "They found 17 sugar packets in his glove compartment," Mara continued. 11 in his nightstand, 1 in the toolbox under the furnace. He kept small things because he believed every problem arrived 5 minutes before the thing that could fix it. She looked at Dennis. He was staring at his program. I hope he was right. Afterward, the family received people in a narrow line. Former roofing clients shook Dennis's hand. Crew members told Brent they were sorry for his loss. Boardinghouse tenants hugged Mara, as though she were the one who might fall over. Cal leaned close and said, "Boiler made a noise at 4 this morning. What kind? The expensive kind. Did you hit it?" Respectfully. "Then it's probably fixed." Rosa squeezed Mara's wrist. "You coming by tonight?" "I don't know. We have to go through Grandpa's things." Rosa's eyes moved toward Dennis. That one sound contained a complete and unfavorable biography of Mara's family. Walter's house felt wrong without him before they even opened the door. Too clean, too quiet. The thermostat set at 68 instead of the tropical 76 he preferred. Dennis had arranged sandwiches, coffee, and a bottle of bourbon on the dining room sideboard. Brent poured bourbon. Owen made coffee. Mara wandered to Walter's chair and touched the groove worn into one wooden arm. The meeting took 12 minutes. Walter's longtime attorney, Ms. Klein, did not perform the reading like a movie. She removed papers from a brown folder and explained things in a voice so practical it seemed designed for weather delays. Bell Sons would pass to Brent and Owen, along with its trucks, equipment, current contracts, and liabilities. Dennis would receive Walter's home and personal vehicle. Smaller accounts had been divided among all 4 of them after funeral expenses. Then Ms. Klein placed the brass keys on the coffee table. "The property on Garrison Street is different," she said. Brent's glass paused near his mouth. Mara looked at him. He drank. Ms. Klein explained that Walter had given Mara the right to choose. She could receive a cash share after the boarding house was sold, or take ownership of the property as it stood. If she took it, she took the overdue tax balance, the repair obligations, the existing rental agreements, and every other headache attached to it. Dennis exhaled through his nose. Walter always did enjoy a lesson. Mara looked at the keys. The large square one opened the front door. The narrow silver one opened the rent office. 2 nearly identical keys opened the cellar, but only if one was pulled halfway out while turning. The green tag key was for the boiler cabinet. "What's the cash share?" she asked. Ms. Klein named a number. It was more money than Mara had ever possessed at one time. Enough for a deposit on an apartment, a reliable car, and maybe the respiratory therapy program she had abandoned after 1 year. Enough to stop measuring groceries against the gas gauge. "I assume the property's worth more than that," she said. A silence passed among the men. Brent sat forward. "It's worth what someone will pay, which, in its current condition, is not a lot." "In its current condition," Owen repeated, almost under his breath. Mara turned to him. He rubbed a thumb over a coffee stain on his cup. Ms. Klein gathered her papers. "You don't have to decide this minute. How long?" 30 days. Brent smiled. "Great. Plenty of time to be sensible." That was when Mara knew there was something they had not told her. Not because Brent wanted her to take the cash. Taking the cash was sensible. He was right about that. She knew the state of the roof, the boiler, the soft patch beneath the second-floor bathroom. She knew Walter had spent his last winter moving bills between drawers, as if surprising them would lower the amount. But Brent never encouraged sensible decisions unless they were profitable to Brent. Ms. Klein left. Dennis began discussing which charities might take Walter's clothes. Owen carried his untouched coffee to the kitchen. Mara followed him. He stood at the sink, watching rainwater travel down the dark glass. "What's happening on Garrison?" she asked. "Nothing." "Owen." He set down the cup. "A development group has been buying around the rail district. How close?" He said nothing. How close? The tire warehouse. 2 duplexes on Mercer. They made an inquiry about Grandpa's place last fall. Mara felt a strange hollowness behind her ribs. "How much?" "I don't know the final number. You know the first one." Owen looked toward the dining room, where Brent was explaining something loudly. It was an inquiry. How much? When he told her, she thought she had misheard. The offer was not a fortune. It would not change all their lives, but it was more than enough to rescue Bell Sons from whatever trouble Brent kept calling a temporary cash flow squeeze, and enough to make Mara's proposed share look less like generosity and more like bus fare out of the way. "And the tenants?" she asked. Owen rubbed both palms over his face. "They'd have to relocate." "Relocate where?" "I don't know. You know the first offer, but not where 8 people are supposed to live? Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make me Brent because he's in the other room." Before she could answer, Brent appeared in the doorway. "There, a secret meeting?" Apparently there already was, Mara said. His eyes cut toward Owen. You told her? She asked. She always asks. You don't have to answer every question somebody asks. Mara walked past him into the living room. The keys still lay on the table beside Walter's folded reading glasses. She saw Rosa's green dress, Leon laughing at the sugar packets, Priya coming straight from a hospital shift. Because Walter had once driven across town at 2 a.m. when her car died, Cal telling her the boiler had made an expensive noise. She also saw her Corolla's fuel light, the plastic garbage bags holding her clothes, and the motel receipt in her purse. 4 nights left if she skipped dinner twice. Brent followed her. Mara, don't get dramatic. Grandpa kept that place too long because he got attached. We can't run a business based on who he felt sorry for. You mean the roofing company? His jaw tightened. Owen came in behind him. Dennis looked from one face to another. What now? Mara picked up the keys. She did not feel brave. She felt sick. I'll take the house. Brent laughed once. Dennis stood very still. Then he told her what it would cost. 20 minutes later, Mara stepped onto the porch with the keys in one hand and her dead grandfather's backward-combed face still bright in her mind. Behind her, the lock turned. She stood in the rain until Owen came out carrying one of the ham sandwiches wrapped in a napkin. He held it toward her without meeting her eyes. Mara took it. Did he mean it? She asked. Owen looked back at their father's house. I don't know, he said. It was not enough, but it was honest. Mara drove to Garrison Street through deepening rain. The boarding house rose at the end of the block, 3 stories of faded brick, crooked gutters, and yellow windows. Someone had placed a bucket under the porch leak. Beside it sat 6 black garbage bags, 2 cardboard boxes, and her cracked blue suitcase. Her belongings. Dennis had moved quickly. The front door opened before Mara reached the steps. Rosa stood there with her arms crossed. Behind her, Leon and Cal watched from the hallway. Rosa looked at Mara's luggage, then at the brass keys. What did you do? She asked. Mara climbed the first wet step. I think, she said, I came home. Rosa did not move aside. You think? She said. Rain ran from Mara's hair into the collar of the borrowed dress. One of the garbage bags had split near the porch rail. A gray sweatshirt sleeve rested in a shallow puddle. Cal stepped around Leon and looked at the bags. Somebody evict you before you got here? Something like that. Was it efficient? Very. That's family. Rosa gave him a look, and Cal disappeared backward into the hall. Mara lifted the keys. Grandpa left me the house. This time, nobody made a joke. Leon's hand closed over the curved handle of his cane. He did not always use it. On good days, he carried it under one arm like a folded newspaper. Tonight, it held his weight. The house, he said. As in this house? Yes. Not a piece of it. No. Walter did that without saying a word. Mara looked at the dark square of the upstairs landing. Apparently. Rosa finally opened the door wider, but it felt less like an invitation than permission to enter a courtroom. Mara dragged the blue suitcase inside. Cal collected the torn bag before she could protest, holding it away from his pants while rainwater dripped from the sweatshirt. Where do you want these? He asked. I don't know. Excellent start. Walter's boarding house always smelled different after rain. Damp wool, old wood, radiator heat, and whatever Rosa had cooked last. Tonight, garlic and vinegar hung in the narrow hall. The wallpaper had once been cream with green vines. Now the vines disappeared behind framed photographs, crooked hooks, and an emergency flashlight. Walter insisted no one remove from the nail beside the stairs. Leon shut the door. Rosa pointed toward the front parlor. Sit. I should get those out of the rain. Cal is getting them. He doesn't have to. No, Cal called from the porch. But I've committed now. Mara sat on the edge of the floral sofa. The cushion released a tired sigh. Rosa remained standing. Leon lowered himself into Walter's wooden chair near the cold radiator, then seemed to realize which chair he had chosen. His face tightened, but he stayed there. Are you selling? Rosa asked. No. Are you raising rents? I just found out 25 minutes ago. That is not an answer. No, I'm not raising rents. Leon studied her. You don't know what the taxes are. I know they're behind. How behind? I don't know. Roof? Bad. Boiler? Cal said it made a noise. From outside, Cal shouted, An expensive noise? Rosa folded her arms tighter. So, You don't know whether you can afford not to raise rents. Mara wished they would let her take off her wet shoes. She wished Walter would shuffle in from the kitchen, complaining that grief had made everyone stupid. Most of all, she wished she had taken the cash and hated herself somewhere dry. "I'm not putting anybody out," she said. Rosa's expression did not soften. "That is what your brother said last year." "Which brother? The shiny one?" "Brent. He came through with a man in a camel-colored coat. They stood on the sidewalk looking up at the windows. Your brother said nobody was putting anybody out. He said there might be opportunities." Cal brought in 2 garbage bags and set them beside Mara. "Whenever a man says opportunity while staring at your bedroom, start packing." Mara looked at Rosa. "I didn't know about that. That does not make it better." "No, it makes me ignorant." Leon's eyebrows lifted slightly. "I can't promise you everything," Mara said. "I can promise I won't make a deal behind your backs. If something changes, you hear it from me first." Rosa glanced at the keys. "And if we do not want you in the rent office?" Mara followed her gaze. The narrow silver key rested between 2 brass ones. "I thought it was Grandpa's office. It is where we count rent." "We?" "Me and Walter." "His numbers wandered," Leon said softly. Rosa's mouth pressed into a line. Mara removed the silver key from the ring and held it out. "Then, keep counting it." Rosa did not take it. "That easy?" she asked. "No, nothing today has been easy. You give me this key, and tomorrow you say I kept something." "Did you?" Cal leaned against the wall. "Careful. That was almost funny." Rosa ignored him. "You keep the key. You open the door when I'm there. It was not trust, but it was a rule. Rules could be followed." "Okay." Leon tapped his cane once against the floor. "Where are you sleeping?" "I figured Grandpa's room." Nobody spoke. Walter's room occupied the back of the ground floor, beyond the kitchen and across from the laundry closet. Before his health worsened, he had lived upstairs in a large corner room. Then he started missing steps, so Mara helped him move down. The old room had gone to a tenant who worked nights at a bakery distribution center. Rosa looked toward the hallway. "His sheets are still on the bed. I can change them. His cup is still by the sink. I can move it." "You don't have to move everything tonight," Leon said. Rosa turned on him. "I did not say she did. You're listing things. I am informing her." Cal picked up Mara's suitcase. "I vote we stop making the woman stand trial in wet funeral clothes. Priya will want a separate trial when she gets home anyway." "Priya knows?" Mara asked. "She knows there was a funeral," Rosa said. "The rest of us only just received this delightful news." Mara followed Cal down the hall. Walter's door stood partly open. Through it, she saw the edge of his narrow bed, brown slippers aligned beneath the radiator, and the blue robe he had worn during his final week hanging from a hook. Her body stopped before her mind did. Cal noticed. His usual half-smile disappeared. "I can put your stuff in the dining room," he said. "No, you don't win anything for sleeping in there tonight." "I know. You people say that a lot, right before trying to win something." Mara pushed the door open. Walter's room had been left in the careful disorder of illness. A paperback Western lay face down on the nightstand. 3 clean handkerchiefs sat on the dresser beside an uncapped bottle of lotion. The bed had been made, but the pillow still held a shallow indentation in the middle. Cal put the suitcase near the closet. "The boiler noise wasn't terrible," he said. "Not yet." "Why did you say it was expensive?" "Because Walter used to respond faster when I insulted his wallet." "Did you look at it?" I listened. "And? It's cycling too often. Could be the thermostat. Could be the pump. Could be that it has reached the end of a long and disappointing life. Can you fix it?" "Appliance repair, mostly. Restaurant ovens, refrigerators, dishwashers that smell like regret. I know enough about boilers to become unpopular." "Will you look tomorrow?" Cal shifted his gaze to the slippers beneath the radiator. "Walter and I had an arrangement." "What arrangement?" "I fixed things." He was flexible when work got slow. "How slow?" He gave her a flat look. "That is between me and the deceased. Rosa knows. Rosa knows when everybody sneezes." Mara set the ham sandwich on the dresser. The napkin had gone translucent with grease. "I'm not Grandpa," she said. "That's the first reassuring thing you've said." He left before she could decide whether to be offended. Mara closed the door and sat on the bed. The mattress dipped toward the middle. Walter had complained about it for 6 years, while refusing 3 replacements. The room held the faint medicinal smell of menthol rub and the sharper scent of his shaving soap. She reached for her phone to call Owen. The screen showed no service. She restarted it. Nothing. Then she remembered the family plan Dennis had insisted on keeping because it was cheaper, though he mentioned the savings every month, as if sending her a personal gift. A message appeared over the wireless network. Account inactive. Mara stared at it until the words blurred. Her first thought was not anger. It was that Dennis knew she used the phone for work. Her manager sent schedule changes by text. The funeral home still had the number. Ms. Klein had the number. A knock sounded once and Rosa entered carrying folded sheets. "Your door does not lock properly," she said. "You should wait for an answer. You need clean sheets." Both statements remained in the room, equally true. Rosa set the stack on the dresser and noticed the phone in Mara's hand. "They cut it off?" Mara looked up. "How did you know? You have the face." "What face?" "The face people get when family hurts them in a boring way." Mara laughed, though it came out uneven. "Is there a face for the exciting way?" "Usually blood." Rosa began stripping the bed. She worked briskly, snapping the fitted corners free. "You don't have to do that," Mara said. "I know. I can sleep on the sofa." "No." "Leon wakes at 5 and watches weather." Loudly. Mara pulled the pillowcase from Walter's pillow. One of his white hairs clung to the fabric. She pinched it between 2 fingers, then immediately felt foolish. Rosa saw and looked away. They remade the bed without speaking. When they finished, Rosa gathered Walter's sheets against her chest. "You said you were not selling," she said. "I'm not." "You decided this in 25 minutes. I decided in maybe 3. That is worse. My brothers wanted it. Your brothers want everything that has already been carried to the car." Mara thought of Brent calling the tenants an attachment, something to be cleared before closing. "I couldn't let them have it." Rosa's eyes sharpened. "That is not the same as wanting us." Before Mara could answer, a heavy metallic knock sounded beneath the floor. The radiator hissed. The pipes shuddered in the wall. Then came a second knock, louder than the first. Rosa sighed. "Expensive?" Water struck the hallway floor upstairs. Someone yelled, "Bucket!" Rosa dropped the sheets. Mara reached the door at the same time, and they collided shoulder to shoulder. Cal was already running from the parlor. Leon pointed his cane upward as if directing traffic. "Second floor bathroom," he said. Mara grabbed the emergency flashlight from beside the stairs and raced up. Water crept beneath the bathroom door in a thin, shining line. When she pushed inside, cold rain hit her face. A brown stain in the ceiling had opened around the light fixture. Water streamed through it into Walter's old galvanized tub. Cal appeared behind her and reached for the switch. "Don't touch that," Mara snapped. "I was turning it off. So was I." "You were staring at it. I was locating it." "Wonderful. Locate the main breaker." Priya came down from the 3rd floor, in scrubs, shoes in one hand. She stopped when she saw Mara. "What are you doing here?" The ceiling gave a wet cracking sound. Mara held up the keys. Priya looked from them to the water, then back to Mara. "Oh," she said. "That's unfortunate." Cal killed the bathroom circuit while Rosa positioned buckets. The 4 of them moved with the graceless speed of people who had done this before. Towels appeared. Leon called instructions from the stairs. Mara climbed onto the edge of the tub to inspect the ceiling, slipped, and caught herself against Cal's shoulder. "Strong opening night," he said. "Shut up." There it was again, that brief, startled lift at the corner of Rosa's mouth. By the time the water slowed, Mara's funeral dress was soaked through for the 2nd time that day. Plaster floated in the tub like dirty ice. Priya stood in the doorway, arms folded. "Walter said he was getting the roof fixed," she said. "He said that about his mattress," Mara replied. Priya considered her for a moment. "Did he really leave you this place?" "Yes." "And you accepted it?" "Yes." "On purpose?" Mara looked at the split ceiling, the crowded buckets, and Walter's emergency flashlight clenched in her hand. "I'm beginning to question that part." Leon laughed from the landing. Cal did too. Even Priya's mouth softened. Rosa did not laugh. She handed Mara another empty bucket. "Good," she said. "Questions are useful." Mara caught the bucket against her hip before Rosa could hand it over completely. "What am I questioning?" she asked. "Everything. That narrows it down." Rosa pointed at the water trembling around the bathroom light. Start with why Walter let that get so bad. He didn't let it. He was sick. He was stubborn before he was sick. Cal set another bucket beneath the fastest drip. In fairness, he was also stubborn while sick. Priya crouched near the tub and examined a broken piece of plaster. This ceiling has been patched before. 3 times, Leon called from the landing. First time held 7 years. How long did the third time hold? Mara asked. Until now. Cal squinted upward. That's less impressive. A door opened at the far end of the hallway. A woman with silver braids and a maroon bathrobe looked out, took in the buckets, and closed her door again. That's Evelyn, Priya said. She doesn't participate in disasters after 10. It's 9:45. She's union. Mara knelt to press a towel against the water creeping toward the baseboard. Her knees complained when they met the tile. She had been awake since 5, first checking on the funeral flowers, then driving to Walter's house to make sure Dennis had remembered the framed photograph for the service. There had been no lunch. The ham sandwich waited downstairs, softening in its napkin. Her hands shook. Priya noticed and held out half a protein bar from the pocket of her scrubs. I'm fine, Mara said. That wasn't a medical diagnosis. It was food. I have a sandwich, then eat the sandwich. There was something comforting about being ordered around by someone who did not seem to care whether Mara liked her. The rain slowed after midnight. They emptied buckets, spread towels, and positioned a roasting pan beneath the final drip, because Rosa said all the good buckets were needed elsewhere. Cal went to the cellar to check the boiler. Priya returned upstairs after making Mara promise not to touch the wet light fixture. Leon remained on the landing until Rosa threatened to carry him down. Mara stood alone in the damaged bathroom. A patch of ceiling the size of a dinner plate had fallen away, exposing black wood and a strip of wet insulation. She could see where earlier repairs met one another in pale, uneven rings. Walter had kept sealing the visible wound. The water had kept finding a new edge. She turned off the flashlight and immediately turned it back on. Downstairs, her sandwich had disappeared from the dresser. For one irrational second, she thought someone had taken it. Then she found it on a plate beside the bed, with pickle slices and an apple. Rosa's work, almost certainly. Rosa could turn feeding a person into a hostile act. Mara ate half while standing. She wrapped the rest in the napkin and opened her suitcase. The contents were damp. Dennis had stored her things in Walter's garage after she lost her apartment 2 weeks earlier. It had been presented as a temporary favor with 2 conditions: no furniture and no creeping expansion. She had reduced 4 years of adult life to 6 garbage bags, 2 boxes, and 1 suitcase. Apparently, Brent had loaded them into his truck during the meeting, passed her on Garrison while she sat at a red light, and unloaded them in the rain. Her respiratory therapy textbooks had been placed in the box marked bathroom. Her framed photograph of Walter had been put face down beneath a pair of shoes. Mara set the photograph on the dresser. It showed Walter at a county fair, grinning beside a prize pumpkin he had not grown. He had simply liked the pumpkin and stepped into somebody else's picture. She changed into dry sweatpants, hung Rosa's dress over the shower rod in the small downstairs washroom, and lay on Walter's bed. The boiler knocked at 12:37. At 1:10, someone used the microwave. At 2:14, pipes groaned in the wall. At 3, a truck downshifted on Garrison Street, rattling the windows. Walter had slept through all of it. Mara remembered sitting beside him during his last week, counting the seconds between his breaths while ordinary life moved through the house around them. A cabinet closing, Leon's weather report, Priya laughing on the stairs. Walter had opened his eyes once and found Mara watching him. "Stop waiting for thunder," he had murmured. Most things happen regular. She had assumed the medication was talking. At 5:07, the front door opened and a man's heavy steps crossed the hall. A key scraped against the second-floor corner room. The night worker, Mara remembered. She had met him twice but could not retrieve his name. At 5:15, Leon's television announced a cold front. At 5:20, Mara gave up on sleep. She found Leon in the kitchen measuring coffee grounds into Walter's dented metal percolator. "You know there are quieter methods," she said. "Yes. Do you reject them on principle?" Walter liked this one. He fitted the lid and plugged in the cord. Darnell got home. "He works distribution for the bakery out by the highway. Don't knock before 2 in the afternoon unless something is burning." "Darnell," Mara repeated. "Webb, room 7, pays on the 3rd. Exact amount, money order. Does not like raisins. Is that relevant to the rent?" "It is relevant to living with Darnell." Leon moved toward the table with his cane. Mara pulled out a chair, and he frowned at it. I can operate furniture, I know. You moved it like I could not. I moved it because you were walking toward it. He lowered himself slowly. Walter did the same thing. Maybe the chair is badly placed. Maybe you bells are. The percolator began its loud, wet chugging. Leon opened the newspaper, apparently satisfied. Mara found an old wall phone beside the pantry and lifted the receiver. The dial tone sounded like wealth. She called the diner. Val answered on the 6th ring. Bluebird, it's Mara. There was a pause. You alive? Yes. Good, because dead would make me feel bad about being angry. I'm scheduled at 11. You were scheduled at 6. Mara closed her eyes. No, Tanya said she switched me. Tanya says a lot of things. My grandfather's funeral was yesterday. I know when the funeral was. I sent a pie. You sent the coconut cream? I did not make it, so don't get sentimental. Can you come at 8? Mara looked through the kitchen doorway toward the stairs. A damp towel hung over the banister. Somewhere above it, water was sitting inside the roof. Yes. Bring a phone that works. That may take longer. Val sighed. 8, Mara. When Mara hung up, Leon lowered the newspaper. You're leaving? I work. You own a boarding house. I work at a diner. Walter used to say this place was 3 full-time jobs wearing 1 coat. Walter also stole sugar. Preparation. Rosa entered already dressed in navy pants and a cream blouse, her hospital laundry badge clipped at the waist. She placed a ring of keys and a black spiral notebook on the table. Rent office, she said. I have to leave in 2 hours. Then you have 1 hour and 59 minutes. The rent office was a converted pantry behind the front parlor. Mara unlocked it with the narrow silver key, while Rosa stood close enough to watch the turn. Inside were a metal desk, 2 mismatched chairs, filing cabinets, and shelves crowded with envelopes. Walter's old calculator sat beneath a layer of dust. A calendar still showed April, though it was October. Rosa opened the blinds. Gray light revealed water stains in both upper corners. Those are old, she said. Are you sure? No. Mara sat behind the desk. The chair squealed as though offended by her weight. Rosa did not sit. She opened the black notebook. 8 rooms, she said. Mine is 3. Leon is 1. Cal is 4. Priya is 6. Darnell is 7. Evelyn is 8. Winston Reed has 5, but he is away until Thursday driving a moving truck to Tennessee. Marjorie has 2. She leaves before 6 for the hotel front desk. I didn't hear her. Marjorie was trained by people who charge for late checkout. Rosa read each rent amount. They were all different. Why does Cal pay less than Priya? Cal does maintenance. He said that arrangement was private. It was very private. We all knew. Leon's rent dropped in June. He stopped taking extra routes. He's retired. He delivered prescription orders. Then his knee got worse. Mara opened Walter's ledger. His handwriting marched across the pages in blocky capital letters, but the entries made little sense. Some rents had check marks, some had initials, and some had notes such as 2 weeks, ask later, or fixed freezer, fair enough. This isn't accounting. This is Walter. Where are the utility bills? Rosa pointed toward a drawer. The drawer stuck. Mara pulled harder and nearly tipped the desk into her ribs. Inside, envelopes had been arranged by color, but not date. She found the gas bill first. The past due amount tightened her throat. The electric bill was worse. Beneath them lay the property tax notice. Mara read the total twice, hoping the second reading would produce a smaller number. Rosa took the chair across from her. How much money do you have? She asked. That's personal. You asked about Cal's rent after 5 minutes. I'm the owner, and I am the person who knows whether we can buy food after paying you. Mara flattened the tax notice on the desk. I have $812. Rosa stared. Technically $827, but I need gas. You took this house with $800? I thought it was $900. That is not better. No. Rosa leaned back and looked toward the shelves. Walter had repair money. Where? He spent it. On what? His treatment. Some. The roof over the kitchen. Marjorie's dental surgery, though she believes he loaned it to her. Mara rubbed her forehead. Why are you telling me? Because you are looking for a box of money that does not exist. I wasn't. You had the face. What face is that? The American face. Despite herself, Mara laughed. The office phone rang. Both women looked at it. Walter's name remained taped beneath the receiver in his own handwriting. Mara answered, Garrison House. Brent said, So you're playing landlord already? Her fingers tightened around the receiver. How did you know I'd be here? It's the house number, Mara. What do you want? Dad calmed down. Relief moved through her before she could stop it. Brent continued. He says you can come back if you return the keys and tell Miss Klein you need more time. The relief vanished so quickly it embarrassed her. Come back where? To the family. Rosa lowered her eyes to the notebook, but she did not pretend she couldn't hear. Brent softened his voice. You made a decision while you were upset. Nobody's holding that against you. You put my clothes in the rain. Dad wanted them out of the garage. In 20 minutes? He was angry, so was I. I didn't throw his clothes outside. Mara, the roof alone could cost 40 grand. You don't have $40. She looked at the bills spread across Walter's desk. I have more than 40, then enjoy the weekend. He hung up. Rosa waited. Mara replaced the receiver carefully. Do we have a ladder? 3. A tarp? 1 without holes. Probably. Probably? Rosa closed the notebook. Questions are useful. Mara stood. Her diner shift began in 90 minutes. Rain still tapped the office window, softer now, but steady. Show me the good ladder, she said. Rosa looked Mara up and down. No, you just said we had 3. We have ladders. You have funeral shoes. I have sneakers. You also have no sense. Cal appeared in the office doorway holding a mug that read, World's Fair to Middling Uncle. I heard ladder. We're putting the tarp over the bathroom leak, Mara said. We are doing nothing until the roof dries. It's still raining. That is generally what roofs are for. How long until it dries? Cal sipped his coffee. Rain's supposed to stop by 10. Maybe this afternoon if the wind comes up. I'll be at work. Then the roof will enjoy a few hours without you. Mara pushed past him and found the extension ladder hanging from brackets in the back hall. It was wooden, heavy, and older than she was. One rung had been reinforced with 2 metal plates. A second aluminum ladder stood behind it, streaked with roofing tar. Cal leaned against the doorframe. The aluminum one, he said. Wood ones for painting. Why? Because that's what Walter said. Is there an actual reason? Probably. He wasn't chatty once he'd decided a thing. Mara lifted the end of the aluminum ladder. Cal placed his coffee on the floor and took it from her. I said this afternoon. I want to see where it goes. It goes up. Cal. He carried the ladder into the narrow side yard. Rain dimpled a trash can lid. Above them, the roof sloped in 3 mismatched planes, evidence of additions built by men with different tools and opinions. Water spilled over one clogged gutter and struck the ground beside the foundation. Mara shielded her face and looked toward the second-floor bathroom window. The leak's 10 feet in from there. Water travels. Where does it start? If I knew, I'd be charging you. You keep mentioning money. I like the concept. He set the ladder beneath the eave, but did not extend it. Roof this wet. You put 1 foot wrong and become a yard problem. The tenants don't know you well enough to scrape you off the hydrangeas. Mara looked at the flattened bushes under the gutter. Those are hydrangeas? Walter said so. They look dead. They're resting. She could not tell whether Cal was serious. His expression rarely changed enough to help. After my shift, she said, if it's dry. After my shift if it's dry. And you don't climb. Why not? Because I know roofs better than you. You repair dishwashers. You serve pancakes. Pancakes are dangerous. Not at that altitude. Rosa opened the back door. Mara has to leave in 40 minutes if she is walking. I have a car. Rosa looked toward the street. The gray one with the left rear tire? All cars have a left rear tire, not like yours. Mara checked it. The tire was low, though not yet flattened. Cal produced a small compressor from the cellar without comment and connected it to the outlet beside the kitchen window. While it rattled, Mara returned to Walter's room, pulled on black work pants and a Bluebird Diner shirt from one of the bags, and tied her wet hair back. Walter's photograph watched from the dresser. His blue robe still hung on the door. She almost moved it. Instead, she took the green tag boiler key from the ring and set it beside Cal's mug in the hall. He stared at it. What's this? If it makes another expensive noise while I'm gone, you're trusting me with the boiler? I'm trusting you with a cabinet. That's how it starts. The Bluebird's morning rush had thinned by the time Mara arrived. 2 men in reflective utility jackets occupied the counter, and an older couple shared toast in a booth beneath a painting of a sailboat. The diner smelled of fryer oil, maple syrup, and industrial lemon cleaner. Val stood behind the register with reading glasses on top of her head and a pencil stuck through her bun. "You look terrible," she said. "I went swimming in a ceiling. Clock in." Mara tied on an apron. Val caught her arm before she reached the coffee station. "Your grandfather's pie was delivered to the wrong funeral." Mara stared. "Coconut cream. Bell family. Somehow ended up with an 86-year-old named Mabel Bell across town." "Did Mabel like coconut?" Her niece said yes. Then Grandpa would have approved. Val's grip softened. "You all right?" "No." "All right." It was the most useful exchange Mara had had all morning. Work carried her by the wrists. Coffee, eggs over medium, rye toast, extra crispy bacon, hot sauce that had been directly in front of the customer. People wanted small things in predictable orders. A man complained that his hash browns were too brown. A woman asked for ice water without ice. Mara solved each problem and received either money or silence. At 10:30, the door opened and Owen stepped inside. He had changed from his funeral clothes into jeans, work boots, and a Bell Suns sweatshirt. A dark bruise marked one knuckle. He sat in the last stool at the counter. Mara put a menu in front of him. "You know what food is here. I was hoping grief improved it. Coffee, please." She filled his cup. He slid a small cardboard package across the counter. "What's that?" "Phone. I know the general shape." "Prepaid. I put a month on it." Mara did not touch the box. "Did Dad send it?" "No." "Brent? He thinks cutting off your phone will speed up your recovery from stupidity. So he cut it off. He called the carrier. Dad didn't stop him." That sounded more like Dennis than either possibility alone. He rarely initiated cruelty. He simply found a chair while someone else did it. Mara turned to refill the utility worker's coffee. When she came back, Owen was tracing a crack in the counter with his thumbnail. "What happened to your hand?" "Toolbox." "Did it insult Brent?" Owen smiled into his cup. She lowered her voice. "Did Dad mean what he said?" "I told you I don't know. You work with him every day. That doesn't mean I know him. You're the one still invited to dinner." He looked up. "You think invited and wanted are the same thing?" Val rang the service bell even though Mara stood 4 feet away. Table 6. Mara took 2 plates to the older couple. When she returned, Owen had opened the phone box and placed the device on the counter. "Brent called Foster Supply," he said. "Why?" "Grandpa had a charge account there. Brent told them not to extend it to Garrison. It wasn't his account. It was connected to the company years ago. Grandpa paid his own bills, I know. Brent said until the ownership is sorted out, they should decline charges. Ownership is sorted out. The paperwork isn't finished." Mara set the coffee pot down too hard. Coffee jumped from the spout. Owen wiped it with a napkin. "Why are you telling me?" she asked. "Because you'll go there expecting help. Will Bell Suns look at the roof?" His hand stopped moving. "As a paying job," Mara said. "We're booked. You haven't checked. I know the schedule. The bathroom ceiling opened last night." Owen glanced toward the windows as if Garrison Street might be visible from there. "How bad?" "I can see insulation. You need a tarp until someone can inspect it." I arrived at that conclusion. "Do you know how to lay one?" "Cal does." "Who's Cal?" "One of the people you're planning to relocate." Owen's face closed. Mara hated the quick satisfaction it gave her. He placed money beneath his coffee cup and stood. "Keep the phone. I can buy my own." "With your $900? $812. Jesus, Mara. Apparently everybody's doing better math than I am." He pushed the box closer. "You need a phone for work. So Dad doesn't get to cut me off? So you have a phone." She wanted to refuse it. Refusal would have been clean and proud and stupid. "Thank you," she said. Owen nodded once and left without touching the menu. Val appeared beside Mara and picked up the bills he had left. "That man tipped $20 on one coffee. He feels guilty. Guilt remains legal tender. He's my brother. That explains the jaw." "We don't have the same jaw." "You do when you're angry." Mara looked through the front window. Owen's truck pulled away from the curb, Bell Suns painted in red across the door. Below the company name, smaller letters read, 3 generations above the rest. Val handed her the 20. Put it somewhere useful. At the end of her shift, Mara had $86 in tips, sore feet, and 6 missed calls on the new phone. 3 were from an unknown number, 2 were from Brent. 1 was from Cal. She called Cal first. "Roof's drying," he said. "Anything else?" Boiler hates me. Mutual, too soon to tell. Bring a tarp 12 by 16, exterior screws, fender washers, and roofing sealant. Slow down. I am speaking at regular speed. She wrote the list on the back of a guest check. Anything cheap? The fender washers are charmingly affordable. Foster Supply occupied a long brick building behind the freight tracks. Mara nearly drove past it. Then she thought of Brent calling ahead, arranging her humiliation like an appointment, and turned into a chain hardware store instead. The tarp, screws, washers, sealant, work gloves, and a tire gauge cost $112.43. She sat in the parking lot afterward with the receipt draped over the steering wheel. Her remaining money had become a number she did not want to calculate. She calculated it anyway. Cal was waiting in the side yard when she returned. He had changed into work pants and a faded green jacket. A tool belt hung low on his hips. "You got blue," he said, inspecting the tarp. It was blue or brown. Brown costs less. No, brown was $9 more. Then blue is structurally superior. Mara held the ladder while Cal climbed. Every movement he made looked cautious and practiced. Near the gutter, he stopped and tested the edge with the heel of his hand. "Soft," he called. "How soft? Don't ask questions you can't afford." Priya came out carrying a laundry basket. Rosa stood in the kitchen doorway. Leon watched through the window with his weather television audible behind him. Even Evelyn had appeared on the upstairs landing. They did not look like tenants waiting for a landlord to fix something. They looked like a jury inspecting a witness. Cal reached the roof and crawled toward the damaged section. Mara fed him the folded tarp with a rope. He positioned it, then called for screws. "I'm coming up," she said. "No. You need somebody to hold the other side. I need somebody to pass the drill." Mara climbed to the third rung. Cal leaned over the gutter. Hydrangeas, they're already dead, resting. She went up 2 more rungs. The aluminum shivered beneath her feet. "Mara!" Rosa said from the doorway. "I'm not on the roof. You are on the way. I'm passing the drill." Cal stretched down. Their fingers met around the handle. For a second, the ladder shifted. Mara pressed her body into it, heart kicking hard. Then he had the drill. "You can go down," he said. "I know." She descended 1 rung at a time. The tarp took 40 minutes. When Cal finally climbed down, his knees were dirty and sealant marked one sleeve. Mara handed him the new phone. "Take pictures?" He showed her 6. Cracked shingles, rusted flashing, a dark sag near the bathroom vent. "How bad?" she asked. "Bad." Brent said 40,000. "Brent trying to scare you?" "Yes." "Then it could be 39. She waited for him to smile. He did not. A light rain began just before dusk. Everyone listened. No water struck the second-floor bathroom floor. Priya leaned out of the doorway and called down. "It's holding." Mara looked at Cal. He looked at the blue tarp visible past the window. "For tonight?" he said. Rosa passed Mara on the stairs carrying an empty bucket. She did not thank her. She simply returned the bucket to the cellar. For tonight, that was enough. The bucket had barely reached the cellar before the front door opened, and Marjorie Tate came in carrying a paper grocery bag and a hotel umbrella printed with tiny gold crowns. She stopped when she saw the blue tarp through the stairwell window. "Walter finally do the roof?" "Mara did," Leon said from the parlor. Cal removed his tool belt. "I participated." Marjorie looked from Mara's diner uniform to Cal's tarred sleeve. "Is Walter back?" "No," Rosa said. "Then how did Mara do anything?" The explanation traveled through the house in pieces. Priya told Marjorie while folding laundry. Marjorie told Darnell when he woke for work, adding 3 details nobody had said. Darnell told Evelyn, who already knew because she had listened from the landing. By 7, everyone except Winston Reed had gathered in the kitchen. Mara had not called a meeting. The meeting formed around her. Darnell Webb wore steel-toed boots, dark work pants, and a white undershirt beneath an unbuttoned flannel. He was broad enough that the small kitchen chair looked temporary under him. Marjorie remained in her hotel uniform, a fitted gray jacket with a name tag that said, "Marjorie, Guest Services." Evelyn had changed from her bathrobe into a purple sweater and silver hoop earrings. They all looked at Mara. "What?" she asked. Evelyn raised one eyebrow. "You own the building. I found out yesterday." "We found out today," Darnell said. "So here we are." Cal opened the refrigerator. Rosa slapped his hand away from a covered dish without looking at him. Leon occupied his place near the window. Priya sat at the table with an anatomy textbook open beneath one elbow. "What happens to our agreements?" Marjorie asked. "Nothing. Walter let me pay on the 10th. Then pay on the 10th. Even if the lease says the 1st? Mara hesitated. "Why does it say the 1st? Because that is what leases say." "She gets paid on the 7th, Rosa said. "I can speak for myself." "You were not." Marjorie turned back to Mara. "Walter and I had an understanding." "So did I," Cal said. Darnell folded his arms. Everybody had an understanding. Mara looked around the table. 8 rooms, 8 rents, and apparently 8 private constitutions. "I'm not canceling anything Walter agreed to," she said. "How do you know what he agreed to?" Priya asked. "I'll ask." "Walter?" "Obviously not Walter." Cal closed the refrigerator. "Good. Because that would change the price of the roof conversation." Mara took a breath. "I'll ask each of you. And Rosa." Everybody looked at Rosa. Rosa lifted the lid from the covered dish. Chicken. That ended the meeting more effectively than anything Mara could have said. Plates appeared from different cupboards. Darnell sliced bread. Priya moved her textbook before Rosa could set a hot pan on it. Evelyn complained that the beans needed salt and then ate 2 servings. Nobody asked Mara to sit, but Leon nudged the empty chair beside him with his cane. She had eaten communal meals in that kitchen before, usually while Walter was alive and telling stories everyone had already heard. Without him, the table felt too large and the room too small. Halfway through dinner, Darnell pointed his fork at her. "You going to keep working at that diner?" "Yes." "How?" "The usual way. I go there and they pay me. I mean, with this place. I don't know yet. That roof needs more than plastic. I know. The back steps tilt. I know. The washer chews shirts. I did not know that." "It prefers sleeves," Cal said. Marjorie pulled at the cuff of her jacket. 2 uniforms. Mara took the folded guest check from her pocket and wrote washer. Rosa watched her. Walter had lists. "I'm making my own. His are in the office. Then I'll compare." "His list did not fix the washer," Evelyn said. Mara wrote that down too. The first rent came the next morning. Darnell slid a money order under the office door before going to bed. The exact amount, as Leon had promised. Marjorie paid 3 days later, also by money order, with a yellow sticky note reminding Mara about the 10th, even though it was only the 4th. Priya paid through an electronic transfer Mara had to create an account to receive. Evelyn used a personal check and stood over Mara until she wrote a receipt. Leon handed over cash in an envelope, then counted the receipt money, as if Mara might have returned the wrong amount. Rosa paid last, after comparing Mara's written total against her black notebook. Cal did not pay. "There's an understanding," he said, when Mara found him in the cellar replacing a cracked hose on the washer. "What understanding?" "I maintain the house. For free rent, for adjusted rent." "What adjustment?" "Depends." "On what?" "What I fix." "That's not an adjustment. That's improvisational bartering." Walter preferred jazz. Mara crouched beside the washer. "How much do you owe?" "This month?" "In general." Cal tightened the hose clamp. "Rosa tell you? I'm asking you." "That's respectful. Thank you. I still don't want to answer." She sat back on her heels. The cellar smelled of wet concrete and laundry soap. Along the wall, the boiler shuddered through another cycle. "Cal, I can't run this place if nobody tells me the truth. You think a number is the truth? It's part of it." He wiped his fingers on a rag. 460. Behind? Depending how you define behind. The usual definition? Yes. Mara had expected worse. The relief embarrassed her. "What did you fix?" 2 refrigerators. Rewired Evelyn's lamp after she tried to kill herself with electrical tape. Replaced the kitchen faucet. Pumped out the cellar in August. Fixed Walter's adjustable bed. Mara looked toward the boiler. "That too?" "Not yet." "Can you pay anything?" His jaw shifted. She recognized pride because it behaved so much like anger. "Not this week," he said. "Okay." "Okay, what?" "Okay, not this week. You're not writing anything down? I'll write it down upstairs, so Rosa can see, so I can remember." He turned back to the washer. "Walter didn't ask every time. Walter knew you longer. Maybe he trusted me. Maybe he knew when you were lying." Cal looked over his shoulder. Mara held his gaze. "I'm still learning." The washer ran without biting anything for 4 days. Mara worked 6 shifts at the Bluebird, 3 of them doubles. Between shifts, she called roofers from a list Val's cook wrote on a takeout menu. 2 did not return her messages. 1 drove past and declined without getting out of his truck. Another climbed the roof, spent 12 minutes taking photographs, and quoted $34,000 for the worst section, more if the decking had rotted underneath. Mara thanked him as if he had offered her a mint. She paid the oldest gas balance to prevent shutoff. She bought 2 used dehumidifiers from a woman across town and spent one evening coaxing them into the Corolla. Cal got one running. The other blew a fuse and filled the second-floor hall with the smell of scorched dust. Every night, Mara entered payments in Walter's ledger and copied them into a spreadsheet Priya installed on the office computer. Every morning, some new expense appeared: trash service, insurance, a plumbing invoice Walter had disputed in June, replacement filters, the rear tire on Mara's car, which became non-negotiable when Val found a strand of metal showing through the rubber. $812 became $700, then $500, then a number. Mara stopped saying aloud. The house consumed money without looking improved. Its wallpaper still peeled, the back steps still tilted. The tarp still shone blue over the bathroom, like a flag declaring temporary defeat. On Saturday afternoon, Mara returned from the diner and found Brent standing on the porch. He wore dark jeans, a fitted blue shirt, and clean work boots. A leather folder rested beneath one arm. Rosa stood inside with the storm door locked between them. "Open the door," Brent said. "No," Rosa replied. Mara climbed the steps. "What are you doing here?" Brent turned, trying to inspect the property. "Why?" "Because the company spent years maintaining it. Grandpa paid the company. Sometimes." Rosa's face behind the glass said she had opinions about sometimes. Brent lifted the folder. "I brought the old service records. I thought you might want to know what you're dealing with." Mara reached for them. He did not release the folder. "Come inside," he said quietly. "We need to talk without an audience. This is my porch." "Exactly." She tugged the folder free. Behind the storm door, Rosa unlocked one latch, but not the second. Brent noticed. "Does she do that every time?" "She lives here. She rents a room." "That usually means living there." His smile thinned. "You're already speaking their language." "What language is that?" "Everything is personal. Every repair is a promise. Every late payment is a tragedy. Grandpa got trapped in it. He chose it. Grandpa couldn't sell without feeling like he was betraying people." "That's a trap, Mara." The door opened 2 inches. Rosa said, "We can hear you." "I gathered that." Leon's voice came from the parlor. "You're loud." Brent looked at Mara. "Can we go somewhere else?" "No." His eyes moved to the cracked porch column, the gutter, the patched step. "You think keeping it makes you loyal to him?" "It doesn't. He left you an exit, and you turned it into a test. You called Foster Supply. I protected the company account. You made sure I couldn't use a business Grandpa used for 30 years. You don't have money to pay them. You could have told me. Would you have listened?" Mara looked down at the leather folder. "Is that why you came? To tell me I'm poor in person?" "I came because the development group needs an answer. Their offer won't sit forever." Inside, another floorboard creaked. Someone else had joined the audience. Brent lowered his voice. "You can still change your election before everything's final. Dad will cool off. Take the cash, get an apartment, go back to school. Be 24 instead of spending your life collecting rent from people who will hate you the first time you ask for it." The worst part was how gentle he sounded. For one dizzy second, Mara saw it. A bright apartment with level floors, a classroom, a phone nobody could cancel, a life where every knock in the pipes belonged to someone else. Then Rosa opened the storm door. "Your sister said you could not come in," she said. "I didn't ask you. That is why I answered." Brent looked past her. Priya stood in the hall with her arms folded. Cal leaned against the stair rail. Leon remained in Walter's chair, cane across his knees. Even Evelyn watched from the landing in a satin headscarf. "This is a family discussion," Brent said. Rosa stepped onto the porch beside Mara. "No," she said, "it is a house discussion." For once, Brent had no quick reply. He looked at Mara as if she had arranged the whole scene. She hadn't. That mattered more than if she had. "I'll read the service records," she said. Brent walked down the steps into the late afternoon sun. At the sidewalk, he turned. "They don't want you, Mara. They want Walter back." The front door closed behind her brother. Nobody spoke until his truck pulled away. Then Rosa took the leather folder from Mara's hands. "We compare this to his invoices," she said. Mara held on to the other end. "Together." Rosa considered her. Then she nodded. "Together." Rosa did not surrender the folder until they reached the rent office. She placed it beside Walter's ledger, pulled the second chair close to Mara's, and opened both as if preparing for surgery. The first service record was 11 years old. Bell Sons had repaired flashing around the kitchen chimney. The invoice showed labor, materials, and a handwritten discount that reduced the total by half. "Did Walter pay this?" Mara asked. Rosa pointed to a check number in the ledger. The next repair involved storm damage over rooms 7 and 8. Paid, but 6 months late. A gutter replacement had never been billed. The page bore Owen's initials beside the words, "Family Courtesy." They worked forward year by year. Bell Sons had patched the bathroom roof 3 times. The first 2 invoices were paid. The third showed $400 in materials and no labor charge. Beneath the total, Brent had written, "Need full replacement, patch not guaranteed." Rosa tapped the date, 3 years. Mara read it again. Walter had known. A later sheet documented rotted decking near the rear valley. Another warned that the porch roof was separating from the brick. Owen had included photographs with arrows and measurements. Walter's response had been written across the estimate in blue pen. "Too much. Get me through winter." "How many winters?" Rosa asked. "Apparently 3. He told us Bell Sons was scheduling him. Maybe they were." Rosa turned the page. The final statement was from February. No payment had been made. Materials cost $786. Labor had been crossed out, then added back, then crossed out again. At the bottom, Owen had written, "Walter, this is the last patch." Mara sat back. Brent had not lied. He had made the truth ugly and useful, but he had not invented it. "Why didn't Walter tell anybody?" she asked. "He thought if he spoke a problem, it became bigger. He had me calling the pharmacy every week. He could have mentioned the roof." "You would have paid?" "I would have tried." "With what?" Mara looked at the tax notice beneath the ledger. "Something." Rosa closed the folder. "That is not an answer. You enjoy saying that. You give many opportunities." Mara took out the prepaid phone and called Owen. He answered over the whine of machinery. "What? Are you working? I'm standing beside a brake. Is that dangerous?" "Only if Brent decides to use it." In the background, Brent said something Mara could not hear. She lowered her voice. "I found the roof records." A pause. "Okay. Why didn't you tell me you patched it in February?" "You didn't ask." "I asked whether Bell Sons would look at it. That was a different question." "Grandpa owed you for materials. He owed the company." "Does he still?" "Brent wrote it off after he died." That surprised her. "Why?" "Because chasing the estate for $800 would make us look cheap. Brent hates looking cheap. He prefers being cheap privately." Mara glanced at Rosa, who had begun sorting service records by date. "Can you come look at the tarp?" she asked. "No." "Why?" "Because you'll ask me to fix the roof. I'm asking you to look. Looking is how roofing starts. Cal says the edge is soft." "Who is Cal again?" "Dishwasher repair." Owen was silent. "He knows enough not to walk on it," Mara added. "Then he knows more than you. Apparently everyone does." The machinery stopped. Owen spoke farther from the phone. "Tomorrow morning, 7. Can you do 8? "No, I close tonight." "Then don't sleep." He hung up. At 6:55 the next morning, Mara sat on the porch steps holding coffee in both hands and trying to keep her eyes open. She had worked until 1 because Val's evening server left with a migraine. Then a guest in room 5, Winston, returned from Tennessee, had come home at 3 and spent 20 minutes maneuvering a moving truck away from Mara's Corolla. Owen arrived at 6:58. He carried a harness, 2 ropes, a tool bag, and the expression of a man arriving for a dental procedure he intended to perform on himself. "You look terrible," he said. "So does the house." "You'll have something in common." Cal came through the side gate wearing his green jacket. "You the brother who knows roofing?" "Owen." "Cal." They shook hands without enthusiasm. Rosa opened the front door behind Mara. "That is not the shiny one." "No," Mara said. "This is the damp one." Owen looked at her. "Your funeral shirt," she explained. He set the tool bag down. "I need access to the attic." "There isn't an attic," Cal said. "There's a crawl space with insulation designed to enter your bloodstream. I've been in it. then you have immunity. Mara unlocked the house. On the second-floor landing, they encountered Priya holding a mug and wearing flannel pants beneath a heavy sweatshirt. She looked at Owen, then at the harness. "Which brother are you?" "The damp one," Cal said. Owen turned to Mara. "You've been discussing me. Only textile facts." Priya moved aside. "Don't wake Darnell." "I remember Darnell," Owen said. "Does Darnell remember you?" Rosa asked from below. Owen did not answer. The crawlspace entrance was inside a narrow linen closet near room 8. Evelyn emerged before Mara knocked, already dressed and wearing lipstick. "You are not opening that before I cover my clothes," she said. "It's in the hall closet. My good coats share a wall." She returned with 2 garment bags and draped them over the closet rod. Owen removed the hatch. Dust rolled into the hall. "Good call," Cal told Evelyn. "I did not reach 64 by trusting men with ladders. Respectfully, I'm not using a ladder. That's worse." Owen crawled into the dark with a headlamp. Cal followed. Mara tried to go after them, but both men said no at the same time. "I own the dust," she said. "You can keep it," Owen called. She waited in the hallway with Priya, Evelyn, and Rosa while thumps traveled overhead. Leon joined them from downstairs. Darnell opened his door, glared at everyone, and shut it again. After 10 minutes, Owen backed out. Gray insulation clung to his hair and shoulders. "The tarp's holding," he said. "The valley isn't. Water's getting under the shingles above the vent, then traveling along the sheathing. Some decking is rotted, but not all. What does that mean? Partial replacement buys time. Full replacement is better. How much time? Depends on winter. Winter won't tell me." Owen brushed insulation from his sleeves. 2 years maybe, 5 if you're lucky, 6 months if you're not. And the partial? Materials, disposal, permits, labor, 8 to 12,000. Mara laughed. Nobody joined her. She leaned against the wall. "I don't have 8,000, I know." Rosa's eyes moved to Owen. "Your brother said 40. Brent priced a full replacement with contingencies. Your brother enjoys contingencies. He enjoys not losing money." Cal came out of the crawl space and replaced the hatch. "Could isolate the valley and do the porch section first." Owen nodded. "Still need a crew." "How many?" "4 who know what they're doing." Cal looked at Mara. "So 5 with you." She smiled before she could stop herself. Owen did too, briefly. They went outside to inspect the gutters. Owen pointed out loose fasteners, damaged shingles, and a section where water had been running behind the downspout. Mara wrote everything on a paper bag because the guest checks were in her apron at work. At the back steps, Owen pressed 1 boot against the lowest tread. The entire staircase shifted. "This needs rebuilding. It's on the list." Near the top, "The list isn't ranked. Rank it." Winston Reed came through the gate wearing a trucker's cap and carrying a duffel bag. He was in his 50s with a narrow gray beard and a permanent crease between his eyebrows. He looked at Owen. "Bell's Sons." "Yes. Your crew left nails in the alley in February." Owen blinked. "Did we? 3? I'm sorry. Got one in my tire. Did Grandpa reimburse you?" "No." Owen took out his wallet. Winston held up one hand. "I did not ask for money. I asked if you left nails. We did." "Good." He walked inside. Owen returned the wallet to his pocket. "Is everybody here like that?" "Like what?" "Cross-examining." "You're on their porch. It's not a courthouse. Rosa says it's a house discussion." Owen gathered his ropes. Mara watched him coil each one precisely. "Why did Grandpa keep asking you to patch it?" she asked. "Because he couldn't afford a roof. He could have sold the house. He'd rather lose money than admit Brent was right. Brent isn't right about the tenants. I didn't say he was. You stood there while he called them an attachment." Owen pulled the rope tighter. "You think silence means agreement because you talk whenever you're angry. And you think silence means innocence." That landed. His hands stopped. Mara wished she could pull the words back, then did not. Owen lifted his tool bag. "Grandpa called me 7 times last winter. I came 6. The 7th time I was on a commercial job in Dayton. And he left a message saying family was becoming unreliable. He was sick. He'd been saying things like that since I was 19. Mara looked toward Walter's back window. Owen continued. "You got the version who needed you. We got the version who thought needing people made them his employees. He needed you too." "Exactly." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Cal came around the corner, carrying the blue tarp's empty packaging. You two finished being related? No, Mara said. Owen said, probably never. He reached into his tool bag and handed Cal a folded diagram. What's this? Cal asked. Order for the Valley repair. Don't let her buy anything until you price it at 3 places. Mara took the diagram before Cal could. Measurements, quantities, notes on underlayment and flashing. Owen's handwriting was the same as on the February invoice. You don't have to help, she said. I'm aware. Brent knows you're here? No. The answer brought no comfort. Owen walked toward his truck. Rosa stood inside the kitchen doorway, watching him go. He is less shiny, she said. He's still my brother. That is not a recommendation. Mara looked at the diagram again. Across the bottom, Owen had written, do not use the wood ladder. She laughed once. Rosa glanced at the paper. What? Nothing. Nothing is rarely funny. Mara folded the diagram and put it in her pocket. For the first time since the funeral, something from her family felt less like a door closing and more like a hand left briefly on the frame. Mara priced the list at 3 places. The first total came to $3,100. The second was lower until delivery fees appeared. The third supplier had cheaper shingles but wanted payment before ordering and warned that cheap and roof were words best kept in separate sentences. She spread the estimates across the rent office desk. Cal stood behind her, eating peanuts from a vending machine bag. Could save on disposal if Winston hauls the debris. Has anyone asked Winston? No. Then we can't count it. We can ask. And labor? Cal shook another peanut into his mouth. What? Mara said. You don't have labor money. I know what I have. Do you? She turned in the squealing desk chair. Everybody in this house has decided my bank balance is community information. The bank balance belongs to the roof. The roof hasn't paid rent. Neither have you. Mara looked back at the numbers. It was true. She had moved into Walter's room without adding any rent for herself to the ledger. The room had never produced income while he lived there. Somehow, that had made occupying it feel free. If I paid rent, she said, I would pay it to myself. You'd pay it to the house. With money I earned. Most rent works like that. Thank you for the tutorial. Cal crumpled the empty peanut bag. If you want me on the roof, we need to talk about what my time counts for. Mara reached for his ledger page. Against the 460, his expression changed. She heard it too late. I'm not asking for free work, she said. You're asking if my work earns forgiveness. I'm asking how we account for it. You tell me. You're the owner. He left the office before she could answer. Rosa, passing in the hall with a basket of towels, looked through the open door. What did you do? Why does everybody assume it was me? Cal walks louder when he is ashamed. Mara lowered her voice. I asked whether roof work would count toward what he owes. Rosa adjusted the basket against her hip. Would you ask Owen that? Owen doesn't owe rent. That was not the question. Mara watched Rosa carry the basket toward the back steps. The bottom board gave its familiar sideways shift beneath her shoe. Wait, Mara said. Rosa turned while still holding the weight. The step moved again. Her body twisted to compensate, and the basket struck the railing. The sound Rosa made was small, more breath than cry. Mara reached her before she fell. The towel spilled across the steps and into the damp grass. I'm fine, Rosa said through her teeth. You're not? I pulled something. Sit down. I am not sitting on wet steps. Cal reappeared from the cellar. His anger disappeared when he saw Rosa's face. What happened? The stair moved, Mara said. The stair always moves, Rosa snapped. That doesn't make it safe. Between them, Mara and Cal got her into the kitchen. Rosa refused the sofa, refused an ambulance, refused ice, then accepted ice after Priya came down and asked the same questions in a voice that did not permit performance. Priya pressed careful fingers along Rosa's lower back. Muscle strain, probably. You need to be seen if you have numbness, weakness, or pain down either leg. I have work, you have a back. My supervisor believes those are interchangeable. I thought you were the supervisor, Mara said. There are supervisors above supervisors. It is laundry all the way up. Rosa tried to stand and immediately sat again. The next morning, a wicker basket waited beside the front door at 4:30. Inside were folded order slips, canvas laundry bags, and a list of 6 addresses. Mara found Rosa in the kitchen, wearing her navy work pants and moving like every joint had been tightened overnight. What is this? Mara asked. My Saturday rote. You're not going? It is side work, uniforms, table linens, two people who do not trust laundromats. I wash and press during the week, return Saturdays. You can't lift these? I can lift. You couldn't lift a coffee mug without swearing. The mug surprised me. Mara picked up the basket. Give me the keys. To my car? I am not delivering pressed tablecloths in my Corolla. They'll arrive smelling like French fries. They already smell like starch. The French fries will fight through. Rosa stared at her. Mara held out her hand. At last, Rosa placed a ring of keys in it. The blue bag goes to the barber on West. Green is the restaurant. Do not fold the aprons. Mr. Hensley wants his shirts hung with the buttons facing the driver's side. That sounds unstable. He pays early. The route took 2 hours. The barber shop was dark, but a man in a knit cap appeared when Mara knocked and counted every towel. The restaurant manager wanted to know why one tablecloth had a pale circle near the hem. Mara said she would tell Rosa. Mr. Hensley inspected his shirts and asked whether Mara was the granddaughter from the funeral. Apparently, Walter had delivered when Rosa's car broke down. At the last address, an apartment over a florist, Mara found a $20 bill tucked into the empty laundry bag with a note that read, "For Rosa's back, don't argue." She did not argue. When Mara returned, Rosa was asleep upright at the kitchen table, chin resting on her chest. Mara placed the basket quietly beside her and slid the 20 beneath the order slips. Rosa opened one eye. You bent the aprons? No, buttons, facing traffic. Rosa closed her eye again. Acceptable. Mara repaired the lowest back step that afternoon, with Cal's tools and Owen's diagram folded in her pocket, though the diagram concerned a roof and offered no useful advice about stairs. She removed the warped tread, discovered the stringer beneath it had softened, and sat in the dirt staring at a larger problem than the one she had opened. Cal watched from the cellar doorway. You're going to say I should have asked, she said. No. You're thinking it loudly. He crouched beside the exposed stringer. Need to brace this side and replace the bottom too. How much? 40, maybe 60 if the hardware store continues its campaign against wood. I can do 60. You can't do 3,000. I'm aware. He examined the rot with a screwdriver. For the roof, I want 15 an hour. Mara looked at him. That's below what Walter credited, Cal added, and below what I charge restaurants. Why below? Because I live under the roof. You also owe 460. His jaw tightened again, but this time she did not hurry to fill the silence. I want those separate, he said. I'll pay the back rent when I can. The work gets paid as work. Mara understood then what Rosa had been asking. Not whether Owen would work for free, whether Mara would look at one man and see skilled labor, then look at another and see a debt that made him available. 15 an hour, she said. Tracked weekly. I may not be able to give you many hours. That's your problem. It is. Cal held out his hand. She shook it. Together they rebuilt the bottom steps before dark. Winston returned from a local moving job and offered scrap pressure-treated lumber from his truck. Mara paid him $10 for it. He argued the wood was free. She said the delivery was not. He accepted 5. The new steps did not tilt. Rosa tested them the following morning, one cautious foot at a time. Too high, she said. They're the same height as the old ones. Then the old ones were too high. She used them anyway. The gas notice arrived on a Tuesday. Mara recognized the red stripe before she opened it. She carried the envelope into the office, shut the door, and read the amount standing up. The payment she had made covered the oldest balance, but the new bill included a deposit requirement and late fees. The boiler's constant cycling had pushed usage far above Walter's estimate. Service would be disconnected in 9 days unless the entire past due amount was paid. Mara counted expected rent. Marjorie would not pay until the 10th. Winston was leaving for another run and had asked to pay half now, half when he returned. Cal's next appliance job was uncertain. The diner schedule showed 2 doubles, but tips would not close the gap. She called the gas company and waited 43 minutes. A representative offered a payment plan if Mara paid $600 immediately. She had $381. What if I pay $400 Friday? Mara asked. The minimum to prevent interruption is $600. Can you move the date? The date is system generated. Can the system wear sweaters? The representative did not laugh. Mara folded the notice and placed it beneath the roofing estimates. She intended to tell Rosa that evening. Then Rosa came home from work early because her back spasmed. Priya had an exam and sat at the kitchen table whispering the names of cranial nerves. Darnell found grease leaking from the oven hood. The toilet in room 8 began running continuously. Mara told herself she would explain after she fixed the toilet. Then, after her double shift. Then, after the next rent payment. She picked up extra hours at the Bluebird. Val watched her pour regular coffee into a decaf pot and took the carafe from her hand. "Go sit down. I'm fine. You put bacon in table 4's check presenter. Did they keep it? They tipped it." Mara sat in the employee storeroom on a crate of paper napkins. Val brought her a bowl of soup and closed the door without asking questions. Mara slept for 11 minutes with the spoon in her hand. At the boarding house, she entered payments late at night after everyone went upstairs. She moved the gas notice beneath a stack of roof records. When the office phone rang, she let it go to the answering machine. On the 7th day, Cal entered the office looking for the February boiler manual. He found the red striped envelope first. Mara came home to every tenant gathered in the kitchen. The notice lay in the center of the table. Nobody had served chicken. Rosa sat very straight despite her back. "You said if something changed, we would hear it from you. I was handling it? How?" "I have 2 more shifts before the deadline." Leon removed his glasses. That was not the question. Mara looked at Cal. "You went through my desk?" "I looked for a manual. And read my mail. I read the part that says they turn off our heat Friday." "Cal," Priya said quietly. "No. She took my rent, asked for my truth, then hid this." Mara felt the room closing around the table. "I didn't want everybody panicking." Evelyn's silver hoops moved when she shook her head. "We know how to panic. We have experience." Winston folded his arms. Darnell would not look at Mara. Rosa pushed the notice toward her. "You promised no deals behind our backs," she said. "You did not promise no bad news. We can survive bad news." Mara picked up the envelope. "What we cannot survive," Rosa continued, "is another Walter." Mara's first instinct was to defend Walter. He had kept their rents low. He had driven Priya across town. He had patched things, forgiven things, carried sugar packets for coffee emergencies. He had also hidden a failing roof beneath 3 temporary repairs and left 8 people living under it. "He was trying to protect you," she said. Rosa's expression softened in a way that made the answer hurt more. "I know." Cal pulled out a chair and sat. That was the problem. Mara remained standing. "So what? I post every overdue bill in the hallway?" "No," Priya said. "You show us what affects us." "I was going to pay it." "With money you don't have," Darnell said. Mara looked around the table. "You all pay rent. You shouldn't have to solve the gas bill, too." "We do solve the gas bill," Evelyn said. "That is what rent is for." "And when rent isn't enough?" Mara asked. Silence settled. There it was. The fact nobody wanted her to say. Walter's arrangements had made the house survivable for each person separately and barely survivable as a whole. Rosa opened her black notebook. "Show us everything." "No." 8 faces turned toward Mara. She held the gas notice against her chest. "Cal's balance is not Winston's business. Marjorie's payment date isn't Evelyn's. I'm not putting everybody's private agreements on the table." Cal's shoulders lowered slightly. "Then show totals," Leon said. "Income, expenses, what is due and when. I don't even have clean totals yet. Then we start with dirty ones." Priya closed her anatomy textbook and went to the office for the laptop. Mara followed, partly because she did not trust anyone else to retrieve the bills, and partly because surrendering documents felt different if she carried them herself. She brought the gas bill, electric bill, trash invoice, tax notice, insurance statement, roof estimates, and Walter's disputed plumbing invoice to the kitchen. The stack looked taller beneath the overhead light. For 2 hours, they built a budget. Priya entered numbers into the spreadsheet. Leon checked her arithmetic with Walter's calculator, pressing each button firmly enough to bruise it. Rosa supplied payment dates. Darnell knew the boiler's fuel usage because he passed it every morning on his way upstairs, and had been writing down the meter when the cycling worsened. Evelyn remembered every repair Walter had mentioned since 2019, and the exact month he had failed to complete it. "Why do you remember the upstairs window but not where you put the butter?" Cal asked. "The window threatens me. The butter does not. It threatened my toast. Buy your own." Winston returned from packing for his next route and stood behind Priya's shoulder. "Where's my half payment?" "Not included until you return," Mara said. "I got paid for the local move. You said you needed the extension. I did yesterday. You can still have it. I am trying to give you money. People usually don't sound angry doing that. People usually take it faster. Winston retrieved an envelope from his room and placed the remaining half of his rent beside the laptop. Mara did not touch it. You need money for the road. I need heat when I get back. It goes toward your current balance, not as some donation. Write whatever makes you sleep. Cal stood. I've got a refrigeration job at Lenny's Tavern in the morning. Compressor relay. I can pay 100 of the back rent after. After you get paid, Mara said. That's what I said. Priya looked at the gap. That gets us past 600. Barely, Rosa said. Barely is warm, Leon replied. Mara felt relief moving through the room, followed immediately by shame. You shouldn't have to advance rent because I failed to plan. Winston put on his cap. You didn't make the boiler old. I hid the notice. Yes, that part was stupid. Thank you. You're welcome. He left for his truck. They paid the 600 on Thursday. Mara used the office phone, entered the confirmation number into the ledger, the spreadsheet, and Rosa's black notebook, then wrote it on a sticky note that Rosa attached to the refrigerator. The heat remained on Friday. Nobody celebrated. Darnell came home from work and touched the radiator with 2 fingers, then made eggs. Evelyn complained that the second floor was too warm. Cal said that meant the boiler was feeling defensive. The next house meeting began with Mara placing a single sheet of paper on the kitchen table. It showed total monthly rent, average utilities, insurance, taxes, maintenance, and a repair reserve that currently contained $83. Individual rents did not appear, neither did late balances. We're short every month, Marjorie said. Yes. How did Walter do it? He delayed things, Mara said, and used money from the roofing company or his own account when he had it. Then he stopped having it. Rosa adjusted the cushion behind her back. So we raise rent. Priya's eyes lifted. By how much? I promised not to. You promised not to throw us out, Darnell said. Different promise. Mara shook her head. Not now. I want a full month of accurate expenses first. I need to know what the boiler costs when it isn't cycling every 4 minutes. I need to know whether the trash invoice is normal and whether Walter was paying for 2 internet lines. He was, Evelyn said. Why? 1 for the front half, 1 for the rear. Brick walls, Mara added a note. Cal pointed at the repair reserve. You also need to stop paying me out of that. I owe you $45 for the steps. You owe the house $83. You said separate. I said the work is work. I didn't say pay me before the gas company. Mara looked at him. You don't get to demand dignity and then donate it back when it's inconvenient. The kitchen went quiet. Cal sat back. His face closed, then opened in a different place. Fine, he said. Pay me Friday. I will. Rosa's mouth twitched. They agreed on rules. Bills affecting service would be posted in the office window, with amounts and due dates. Mara would give written notice before entering rooms, except in emergencies. Repairs would be ranked by safety, damage, and cost, not by who complained loudest. What about the upstairs window? Evelyn asked. Does it lock if I put a chair under it? Safety, Mara said, moving it higher on the list. The oven hood drips grease, Darnell said. Fire risk, Priya said. Higher. My bathroom faucet squeals, Marjorie added. Emotional risk, Cal said. Lower, Mara replied. They created a maintenance schedule, though Mara refused to call it chores. Tenants were not required to work for their housing. People could volunteer for shared areas or accept paid jobs when money existed. Leon offered to handle mail and receipts. Priya took first aid supplies. Darnell volunteered to clean the oven hood because he trusted nobody else near commercial grease. Rosa wrote the final agreements in her notebook. Mara added one more. Nobody hides a shutoff notice. Everyone looked at her. Including me, she said. Especially you, Rosa replied. The house changed slowly enough that Mara noticed only in pieces. The mail began appearing in labeled trays rather than leaning against the office door. Cal logged the boiler cycles and discovered the thermostat connection was loose. After he repaired it, the furnace rested for 12 whole minutes between runs. Priya organized a shelf of bandages, pain relievers, and thermometers in the kitchen. Evelyn's window locked after Mara replaced the bent latch. The roof remained blue. The taxes remained overdue. Mara still woke most mornings with her jaw aching from clenching it, but the house no longer felt like a list only she could see. Leon's knee worsened when the temperature dropped. He hit it badly. He carried the cane rather than using it whenever Mara watched, then gripped the banister with both hands when he thought she had gone. One evening, halfway down the stairs, his left knee gave way. Mara was below him. She caught his forearm. Leon struck the wall hard with one shoulder, but stayed upright. "I slipped," he said. "You didn't. The stair is polished." "By what?" "Feet." He tried to continue. His leg trembled. Cal came up from the cellar, saw them, and silently took Leon's other side. They guided him into the parlor. Leon was furious by the time he reached Walter's chair. "I can manage stairs." "Not tonight," Mara said. "Tonight is not a representative sample. It's freezing outside, your knee hurts, and your room is upstairs. My room has always been upstairs. Grandpa's room is downstairs." The words stopped everyone. Leon looked toward the back hall. Mara had not planned to offer it. The thought had arrived the instant his knee buckled, clean and obvious. "I'm using it because it was empty," she said. "You need it. That was Walter's room. Walter doesn't need it." Leon's face tightened. Neither did Mara, but she had been treating the room like evidence that Walter had chosen her. The robe on the door, the slippers beneath the radiator, the paperback face down, as if he might return after dinner. She slept among his unfinished gestures and called it grief. "I can take room 1, she said. "You'd move all my things. We'd switch. Your grandfather's things are still there." "I know. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking you." Leon stared at the cane across his lap. "Trial basis." "Fine. 1 week. Fine. If I hate it, you can hate it downstairs." Moving took an afternoon. Darnell carried the mattress before going to bed. Winston and Cal shifted the dressers. Priya packed Leon's medications and books. Rosa directed traffic from a kitchen chair, her back improving, but her authority fully recovered. Mara packed Walter herself. His shirts went into 2 boxes. His Western novels filled another. She found $17 in the pocket of his blue robe, 3 butterscotch candies in the dresser, and the narrow black comb from the funeral home, memory tucked inside a clean handkerchief. She sat on the edge of his bed holding it. Rosa appeared in the doorway but did not enter. "They combed his hair wrong," Mara said. "I noticed. Why didn't you say anything? I thought family had chosen it. We didn't." Rosa leaned against the frame. Walter would have complained. He would have sat up to fix it. "Yes." Mara laughed, and the laugh broke in the middle. Rosa waited while she cried. She did not touch her. Somehow that was kinder. When the room was empty, Leon stood in the doorway with his cane planted firmly. "I won't be Walter," he said. "Good." 1 was exhausting. He looked at her, then smiled. Mara carried the last box upstairs to room 1. Through the floor, she heard Leon testing the downstairs radiator. Cal called from the hall to ask whether it heated evenly. Rosa told both men not to touch anything until she brought clean curtains. Mara placed Walter's photograph on the smaller dresser and set the black comb beside it. For the first time, his keys were not in her hand or pocket. They hung downstairs on a hook by the office where everyone knew where to find her. The hook changed things, not dramatically. Nobody treated the keys casually. Rosa still asked before using the office key, and Cal returned the boiler key to the exact same nail after every visit to the cellar. But the house no longer stopped when Mara left for the diner. Deliveries came in, repairs were logged, rent receipts went into Leon's trays. Once, Mara came home and discovered the upstairs hallway light had been replaced without her knowledge. She stood beneath it, turning the switch on and off. Evelyn opened her door. Cal changed it. He didn't put it on the list. It was a bulb. "We log repairs." "It was a bulb, Mara. I'm practicing consistency. You're practicing becoming irritating." Evelyn closed her door. Mara left the light on because it was brighter than the old one. Her new room held Leon's former furniture and Walter's boxed belongings. The ceiling sloped over one window, and the radiator clicked in short, polite bursts. From the bed, she could hear footsteps cross the landing, Darnell's alarm at 4 in the afternoon, and Leon moving safely below without climbing a single stair. He never mentioned returning to room 1. The Bluebird replaced 2 stainless steel prep tables after Val complained their legs were uneven. Mara tested both with a sugar packet beneath one foot and asked what would happen to them. "The scrap man comes Thursday," Val said. "The Boardinghouse kitchen needs a work table. The Boardinghouse kitchen needs a priest. I'll take the table." "You own a truck?" "No." "You have someone with a truck?" Mara thought of Owen and immediately refused the thought. "Yes." Winston collected the table in his moving truck between jobs. Val let Mara have it in exchange for clearing out the diner's storage room, a task that took 5 hours and revealed 27 coffee mugs nobody recognized. Mara also rescued a wall-mounted pot rack and 3 boxes of mismatched glasses. Rosa objected to the table until it was installed. Then she placed her cutting board on it and declared the height almost useful. The old dining room had become storage under Walter. Folding chairs, broken lamps, tax records, a rolled carpet, and 2 unused bed frames filled most of the floor. Mara began clearing one corner at a time. Evelyn kept the lamps she believed could be rewired. Cal rejected all but one. Darnell assembled the bed frames in the cellar so nobody would trip over them. They uncovered Walter's long dining table beneath a plastic painting tarp. Leon ran one hand over the scratched surface. Porch suppers used to move in here when it rained. Why did he stop? Too much stuff. Most of it belonged to the house. Some belonged to tenants who had left years earlier. Nobody wanted to decide what counted as abandoned, while grief still made every object seem intentional. They cleared the table anyway. That Saturday, Rosa made chicken and dumplings. Darnell baked 2 loaves at work and brought one home still warm. Priya arrived late from a study group and fell asleep sitting upright until Cal slid a bowl under her nose. The house ate together without calling it a meeting. Mara was carrying empty bowls to the kitchen when the doorbell rang. Brent stood outside with Owen. They wore matching Bell Sons jackets. Brent carried a leather portfolio. Owen held a stack of white envelopes. Mara opened the storm door, but remained between them and the hall. "What do you want?" Brent looked past her at the voices in the dining room. "Good. Everyone's here." "No." "You don't know what I'm asking? You brought envelopes." "So?" "Nothing good has ever come to this house in a stack of envelopes." Owen looked tired. There were gray shadows beneath his eyes, and roofing tar marked one cuff. Brent smiled with only the social part of his face. "We're not here to fight. The development group improved the relocation proposal. There is no relocation. I'm not selling." Then the tenants can hear an offer and reject it. Behind Mara, a floorboard creaked. Brent raised his voice slightly. "They are adults, aren't they?" Rosa appeared at Mara's shoulder. Usually, Priya, Cal, and Darnell gathered in the hall behind her. Leon stayed in Walter's chair. Evelyn watched from the stairs. Winston and Marjorie emerged from the dining room carrying their bowls. Brent spread one hand. "All we're asking is 10 minutes. Rosa looked at Mara. "They don't come in unless you want them in," Mara said. Brent laughed. "That's a nice performance." Mara ignored him. Rosa considered the brothers, then unhooked the storm door. 10 minutes. Brent entered as though he had won something. Owen wiped his boots before following. They gathered around Walter's dining table. Brent remained standing at the head. Owen placed the envelopes in front of him. Each one bore a tenant's name. Mara saw Leon's and Walter's handwriting. No, not Walter's. Owen's. The capital letters were similar. "The developer is prepared to provide individual relocation payments," Brent began. "These are preliminary offers contingent on the property sale. Nobody is committing to anything tonight." "How can they offer our home when your sister owns it?" Marjorie asked. "They're offering compensation if an agreement moves forward." "An agreement with who?" Darnell said. "With Mara." "She said no," Evelyn replied. Brent kept smiling. "Mara has said no before seeing what everyone wants. We thought you deserved that choice." "You thought we deserved envelopes," Cal said. Owen distributed them. Rosa did not touch hers. Leon rested both hands on top of his. Priya opened hers immediately. Mara tried not to watch her face. The amount made Priya's lips part. She folded the page and returned it to the envelope without speaking. "What is the range?" Rosa asked. "It varies by room and agreement," Brent said. $3,000 to $6,000, plus moving expenses and assistance locating a new rental. Evelyn opened hers. "Who decides what kind of rental?" "The relocation company has several partner buildings." "Where?" "There are options across the county." "That means far," Evelyn said. "There are newer apartments 20 minutes east." 20 minutes from what? Brent looked at her. "People say minutes as if everybody is traveling from the same place." Evelyn continued. 20 minutes from my pharmacy, my church, Rosa's car when mine does not start. I'm sure those details can be discussed. So the answer is no." Brent moved on. "Priya, your amount would cover months of rent near the hospital. Not at my current rent. You're in nursing. Your income should improve. I'm a patient care technician, paying tuition to become a nurse. My future income does not pay December. Owen stared at the table. Cal pushed his envelope toward Brent unopened. No, you haven't read it. I've seen money. This could clear your balance here and leave enough for a deposit. Cal's eyes sharpened. How do you know my balance? Brent glanced at Owen. Owen answered. Grandpa's February work records had rent notes clipped behind them. That information is outdated, Mara said. But accurate enough, Brent replied. Cal stood. Rosa touched his wrist. He did not sit, but he stopped moving. Brent's smile vanished. You all understand the building needs major work. Roof, boiler, wiring, plumbing. The relocation money isn't an insult. It's a way out before something fails. The table quieted. Mara hated him for using the truth. She hated herself more because he had earned the right to use some of it. The roof is temporarily stable, she said. Under a tarp. We have a repair plan. Do you have repair money? No. Then you have paper and optimism. Owen finally spoke. Brent. What? I'm supposed to pretend this is safe because she serves dinner now? Rosa served dinner, Mara said. That's not the point. What is the point? Bell Sons needs the sale? Brent looked at her. There it was. Owen rubbed a hand over the back of his neck. Mara turned to him. How bad? We lost the Carden warehouse contract, he said. They delayed the project. That doesn't answer me. 2 trucks need transmissions, Brent said. Insurance went up. 3 clients owe us. Normal business problems. Normal enough that you need my house? It was Grandpa's property. It was part of the legacy supporting the company. No, he separated it. He made an emotional decision at the end of his life. You liked his decisions about the trucks. Brent leaned both palms on the table. Those trucks come with debt. The contracts come with payroll. You got land in the one part of town developers care about. I got the tax bill, and people who cheer whenever you change a light bulb. Evelyn straightened. It was a very dark hallway. A laugh escaped Winston. Marjorie covered hers with a cough. Brent pushed away from the table. Fine, discuss it. Privately. Take an hour. 10 minutes, Rosa said. You used 8. Brent looked at Mara. Come outside. They should discuss without me, too. He blinked. Why? Because I own the building. That's exactly why you stay. It's exactly why I don't. Mara went to the porch with her brothers. The air had sharpened while they were inside. She could smell wood smoke from somewhere beyond the rail district. Across the street, a bus hissed at an empty stop and pulled away. Brent paced to the end of the porch. Owen stood near the bucket still kept beneath the gutter, though the gutter no longer leaked there. You went through with the transfer, Brent said. Yes. Dad said Ms. Klein sent the notice. Mara looked at Owen. Did you know about these offers before you inspected the roof? Not the amounts. That wasn't my question. Yes. The answer hurt because he gave it cleanly. You drew me a repair plan. The roof needs repair whether you sell or not. You stood in my yard helping me keep people here, then brought envelopes to get them out. I was helping you understand the building. No, you were making yourself feel fair. Owen flinched. Brent stopped pacing. He's trying to keep this family from tearing itself apart. Dad already did that. Dad was angry. So was I. Somehow, my anger keeps becoming a character flaw, and his becomes weather. Owen looked at the dark street. He asks about you. He has my new number. I didn't give it to him. Then he can keep asking. The front door opened. Rosa stood there holding all 8 envelopes. Some remained sealed. Priya's had been opened neatly. Evelyn's was torn across one corner. Brent stepped forward. You should each answer for yourselves. We did, Darnell said from behind her. He came onto the porch, followed by Priya, Cal, Marjorie, Winston, Evelyn, and Leon, who leaned on his cane but stood without assistance. Rosa handed the envelopes to Owen. No, she said. Brent looked from face to face. Every one of you? Priya nodded. The money is real, so is what it won't cover. Marjorie said, I can't replace flexibility with 3 months' rent. My route starts 2 blocks away, Darnell added. A newer apartment east of town puts me an hour from work. Evelyn folded her arms. And none of your partner buildings have Rosa. Rosa looked annoyed by the mention, which made Evelyn smile. Brent turned to Cal. You owe money here. Yes. You could leave clean. Cal looked at Mara, then back at Brent. I'd rather pay what I owe. Leon stepped forward last. Walter once told me a good offer answers the problem the other person has. I know what relocation means, Leon said. I delivered mail to people after they relocated. You lose the neighbor who holds your spare key, the pharmacist who knows your voice, the bus driver who waits when your knee is bad. You priced our rooms. You did not price our lives. Brent looked at Mara. She had said none of it. He could see that now. Owen held the returned envelopes against his chest. Is there a counteroffer? Rosa nodded toward his jacket. Come back with an honest roofing bid. Brent walked down the steps without saying goodbye. Owen lingered. He looked at Mara as if an apology had reached his mouth and found the doorway blocked. Then he followed his brother. After their truck disappeared, Mara turned to the tenants. You didn't have to refuse because of me. We didn't, Darnell said. The honesty stung and steadied her at once. Priya tucked her hands into her sweatshirt pockets. I wanted that money. You could have taken it. I wanted to stay more. Rosa handed Mara the empty guest bowl she had carried onto the porch without anyone noticing. Do not become sentimental, she said. Your brother was right about one thing. The house needs work. The house needs work now. A cold gust moved beneath the porch roof. From the cellar came one deep metallic knock. Everyone heard it. Cal looked toward the floor. That, he said, was not a friendly noise. Cal was moving before the echo died. He took the cellar stairs two at a time. Mara followed with the green tag key, though the boiler cabinet was already open by the time she reached him. Cal crouched beside the pipes, one hand hovering over the housing without touching it. The boiler rumbled through a cycle. A rapid ticking started near the circulator pump. Then came another metallic knock. That's new, Mara said. Thank you, building historian. What is it? Could be air. Could be the pump bearing. Could be the boiler expressing an opinion about the envelopes. Rosa appeared on the stairs. Can you fix it? Cal glanced at Mara. She understood the look. Work was work. I'm hiring you, she said. Track the time. You have $45 for the steps, and a repair reserve. That reserve is for repairs. This is a repair. I preferred it when you didn't understand money. Mara handed him the key. What do you need? Everybody to stop asking me questions while I listen. They went upstairs. Nobody returned to dinner. The rejected offers remained in Owen's possession, but their numbers lingered around the table. Priya washed bowls too hard. Marjorie took home the bread heels. Evelyn checked the dining room radiator twice and denied checking it when Mara noticed. Cal emerged from the cellar 40 minutes later with rust-colored water on his sleeve. Air in the line, he said. I bled it. Pump's still noisy, meaning it runs until it doesn't. When will that be? If appliances answered that question, I'd own a boat. Do you want a boat? No. That's how much money the answer is worth. He wrote pump on the maintenance list and circled it twice. The next house meeting was held at Walter's dining table because nobody wanted the envelopes to have the final word there. Mara brought a revised budget. One full month of accurate expenses showed a shortfall of $340 before major repairs. The thermostat adjustment had lowered gas usage, but winter would erase the savings. Insurance was due in January. The roof reserve contained $211. She set down her pen. We need to change rents. Nobody argued. That made it worse. I'm not doing a flat increase, she continued. Walter didn't set rents equally, and pretending everybody has the same room or income isn't fair. I want to meet individually. Darnell leaned back. People will lie. Probably. People will say they can't pay more. Some can't. Then the ones who can pay for the ones who can't. Rosa looked at him. You pay less because your room ceiling slopes and the morning trucks wake you. I work nights. Everything wakes me. You refused room 5. Winston snores through the wall. Winston frowned. You sleep while I am gone. Your snoring remains. Mara raised one hand. This is why I'm meeting individually, Evelyn asked. What stops you from deciding whoever has the nicest shoes can pay more? Nothing except you, all telling me when I'm being unreasonable. That will not be a problem, Rosa said. Over the next week, Mara sat with each tenant. Marjorie could manage $20 more if her payment stayed on the 10th. Darnell offered $30, then negotiated to $25 in exchange for Mara finally repairing the blackout shade in room 7. Evelyn said $40 before Mara had asked and refused to explain. Winston could pay more during busy moving months, but needed flexibility in February. Priya offered $10 until her nursing exams ended, then $35 if she passed. When you pass, Mara corrected. Do not put pressure in my lease. Leon said his pension adjustment would cover $15. Rosa offered 30 and an exact lecture on why the laundry route was not evidence of excess income. Cal sat across from Mara in the office and placed a $100 bill on the desk. Back rent, he said. She wrote a receipt. What about the increase? He asked. 20? 30? You're still behind, I know. Then 20. Don't make me cheap because I owe. Don't make me reckless because you're proud. They settled on 25. Mara paid him the $45 for the steps. He counted it, folded it into his wallet, and did not hand it back. The rent changes would not solve the roof. They would cover ordinary expenses and put a little aside each month if nothing else broke, which the house seemed to regard as a challenge. The kitchen sink trap cracked on Monday. A dining room outlet smoked on Wednesday. Evelyn's repaired window locked so well that it refused to open. Cal fixed the trap and called an electrician for the outlet because, as he told Mara, knowing your limits is cheaper than a funeral. The pump clicked louder whenever the temperature fell. Mara called 4 heating companies. One offered an appointment in 3 weeks. Another wanted $200 just to look. Cal found the model number beneath 17 layers of paint and searched for a replacement circulator. Discontinued, he said. Of course. There's a compatible one. How much? $680 plus fittings. The repair reserve had $409. We can wait, Mara said. Cal stared at her. I mean, until the next rents? You want to hide this one too? I'm standing in the kitchen telling you. You want to delay it quietly. There's a difference between secrecy and timing, not to a boiler. Rosa entered carrying a bag of groceries. Her back had improved enough that she no longer lowered herself into chairs like a controlled demolition, though Priya still watched her. What now? She asked. Pump, Cal said. How much? Too much, Mara answered. Rosa set the groceries on the stainless table. Post it. The notice in the office window read, Boiler Circulator. $680, parts. Estimated $250. Labor, current reserve, $409. Nobody put cash in an envelope. Nobody proposed a miracle. Instead, they winterized. Winston bought weather stripping at contractor price through a moving client and gave Mara the receipt. Evelyn lined the upstairs curtains with fabric left from an old sewing job. Darnell cleaned and adjusted every radiator valve after Cal showed him how. Priya made an emergency sheet with the location of flashlights, shutoffs, and spare blankets. Mara took 2 discarded insulating mats from the Bluebird's walk-in freezer renovation. Cal cut them to cover the worst cellar drafts. They reduced the strain on the boiler. They did not fix it. Owen returned on a Wednesday morning carrying no envelopes. Mara saw his truck through the rent office blinds and met him on the porch. He wore his Bell Sons jacket open over a gray hooded sweatshirt. No company name had been painted on the truck's passenger door yet, as if the vehicle had been assembled from 2 different lives. I brought the bid, he said. He handed her 3 pages. The partial roof repair came to $8,600. Materials were itemized. Labor hours were listed by task. Disposal showed a lower cost if Winston hauled debris. At the bottom, the estimate offered 2 phases. Rear Valley first, porch section, in spring. Brent approved this? Mara asked. He signed it. Why? Rosa asked for an honest bid. Brent doesn't usually take instructions from Rosa. He found her memorable. Mara looked through the pages again. We can't afford it, I know. Then why bring it? You asked what it cost. This is what it costs. She heard her own words to Cal. Work was work. Numbers were part of the truth. Thank you. Owen nodded toward the office window. Boiler, pump. You replacing it? When we have money, his eyes shifted to the basement vent. Cold front coming. We've winterized. That doesn't fix a pump. Everybody has recently become a heating expert. I'm a roofer. Weather is half the job. Mara folded the estimate. Why did you bring those offers? He leaned against the porch column, then noticed the crack in it, and stood straight again. Brent was going to come without me. That's not an answer. I thought if I was there, he wouldn't promise things the developer hadn't agreed to. So, you came to keep the eviction honest. Owen looked toward the house. You could have warned me, Mara said. He's my brother too. So am I. I know. Do you? He rubbed the bruise that had nearly faded from his knuckle. Bell Sons missed payroll by 2 days last month. Mara said nothing. Brent used his own credit line to cover it. Dad put money in. We laid off 1 crew after the warehouse project got delayed. I'm sorry. Are you? Yes. I'm not giving you the house. I didn't ask. You brought offers. I won't again. She wanted a fuller apology. She wanted him to say Brent had been wrong, Dennis had been cruel, Walter had chosen wisely, and Mara had done something brave rather than financially absurd. Instead, Owen had brought an accurate roof estimate. It was less satisfying and more useful. Come inside, she said. There's coffee. He glanced at the storm door. Am I allowed? I own the dust. That wasn't my question. Mara opened the door. Wipe your boots. Owen drank coffee in the kitchen while Rosa watched him from the stainless table. Leon asked about the roof bid. Cal asked which supplier priced the flashing. Evelyn asked whether his truck's mismatched door was temporary or an artistic choice. He answered all of them. When he left, Rosa examined the estimate line by line and said, "The labor is fair." That sounded painful. Fair is often painful. At the bottom of the final page, Owen had added a handwritten note. Do the boiler first. The temperature dropped 12 degrees overnight. At 4 in the morning, the pipes woke Mara with a long shudder. She put on Walter's blue robe, which she had retrieved from the box because the upstairs room was colder than his had been, and went downstairs. Cal was already in the cellar. The boiler ran beneath the bare bulb, flame steady, pump ticking hard. How bad? Mara asked. Cal placed his palm against the pipe, still circulating. A weather report murmured from Leon's room. The announcer warned of a deeper freeze arriving by the end of the week. The pump made a grinding sound. Then it settled. Cal looked at Mara. Order the part. We're short. Order it. Mara pictured the roof estimate, the tax bill, the repair reserve, and 8 returned envelopes. She took the prepaid phone from the robe pocket. This time, she did not make the decision alone. She went upstairs and knocked on Rosa's door. Rosa opened the door wearing a satin scarf over her hair and holding a wooden back scratcher like a weapon. What? The pump's failing. I know. It has been posted. Cal says order the replacement, then order it. We're short. Rosa narrowed her eyes. Why did you wake me to tell me something you know? Because I'm not deciding alone. The back scratcher lowered. 10 minutes later, the kitchen lights were on. Priya arrived wrapped in a blanket. Leon came from Walter's room, wearing a cardigan buttoned wrong. Darnell had not yet left for work, and Marjorie was already dressed for the hotel. Cal put the supplier's price on the table. Mara showed them the reserve balance and her own checking balance. You are not emptying your account, Rosa said. It's a house expense. You need gasoline and food. I work in a diner. Food is an occupational hazard. No? Cal rubbed both hands over his face. We need the part, not a debate about whether Mara can survive on toast. Winston came in last, pulling on his trucker's cap. How short? $271 for the part. And fittings, Mara said. Labor depends on who installs it. I can replace a circulator, Cal said. I'd rather have a heating tech inspect the work before we restart. The earliest appointment was Saturday, Mara said. Order the pump. Keep Saturday. Marjorie studied the figures. My increase starts next month? Yes, I can start now. That's $20. Then you are short $251, Darnell said. My shade can wait. The money for your shade is $12, $239. One by one, they moved small expenses. Evelyn's window trim could wait. Leon had budgeted $15 for new receipt trays and said the old boxes were not yet morally exhausted. Winston offered a temporary advance against next month, which Mara recorded as a credit rather than pretending it was a gift. They found $146 without touching anyone's private balance. Mara supplied the remaining amount from her checking account. Rosa objected until Mara showed what she would have left. You can eat on that? Rosa asked. I work in a diner. That was not the question. Yes, I can eat. They ordered the pump at 5:18 in the morning. Darnell left for the bakery. Marjorie left for the hotel. Priya went upstairs to sleep before class. Everyone returned to ordinary life, while the boiler ticked beneath them. The part arrived the next afternoon, heavy and red inside a cardboard box. Cal carried it to the cellar, compared every fitting to the old pump, and did not open the sealed bag. Why aren't you installing it? Mara asked. Because the old one is still circulating, barely counts. If I break a fitting and the new one doesn't match, we lose heat sooner, so we wait for the technician. We wait until Saturday, or until the old pump stops. The old pump chose Thursday night. The temperature outside had fallen to 9 degrees. Wind pushed dry snow against the windows in thin, whispering sheets. Mara had gone to bed wearing socks beneath Walter's robe and woken when the radiator stopped clicking. Silence had become the wrong noise. She went downstairs. Cal was already kneeling beside the boiler. The new pump box sat open behind him. "Tell me it's resting," Mara said. "It's dead." The old circulator had seized. The boiler flame still came on, heating water that could no longer move through the pipes. Cal had shut down the system before pressure built. "How long until the house gets cold?" "It is currently getting cold." "Can you install the new one?" "Yes." "Can you install it safely?" Cal looked at the pipes. "Probably. That word has betrayed me before. I need the manual. Exact drain procedure, valve sequence, pressure after refill." There was no manual in the office. Walter kept every manual, not that one. Leon's voice came from the cellar stairs. "He did." Mara turned. Leon stood in slippers with one hand on the rail. "Where?" "Kitchen cabinet over the refrigerator. Brown binder." "We checked that binder, not the binder, the box behind it." Mara climbed onto the stainless table while Rosa held it steady, and Darnell, home between shifts, protested that tables were not ladders. Behind the brown binder sat a faded cardboard sleeve labeled Hamilton Range, 1978. Inside were manuals for the stove, washer, boiler, a dehumidifier no one remembered, and 3 appliances that no longer existed. Walter had underlined the boiler's refill sequence in blue ink. Cal spread the manual on the cellar workbench. "Okay," he said. "We can do this." "We?" Mara asked. "You wanted the inclusive version of ownership." Priya came down wearing scrubs and winter boots. "What do you need?" "Keep everybody out of the cellar, unless I call. Put 1 electric heater in the dining room and 1 in Leon's room. Nothing else on those circuits." "We have 4 heaters," Rosa said, "and wiring from an era when people owned 1 lamp. 2 heaters." Darnell started the oven. "No," Cal called. "I'm cooking. Fine. Don't use it for heat. I understand ovens. You distribute bread. I understand bread better than you understand boilers. Tonight, that is not comforting. The house organized itself." Priya checked each room and marked temperatures on her emergency sheet. Rosa gathered blankets in the dining room. Evelyn added lined curtains over the draftiest windows. Winston wrapped exposed pipes near the rear entry. Marjorie made coffee and wrote the time on every pot because, she said, cold coffee was an avoidable form of despair. Mara worked beside Cal. They shut the water supply, connected a hose, and drained the system into the cellar sink. Rust-dark water pulsed through the line. Cal loosened the old fittings. The first refused to move. "Heat," he said. "The boiler is off. Not boiler heat. Torch. Do you know how to use one?" He looked at her, question withdrawn, the fitting released with a sound like a gunshot. Mara jumped. Cal did not, though his hand shook afterward. "You okay?" she asked. "I liked that fitting better before I met it." They removed the old circulator. Its housing was hot, rusted, and heavier than it looked. Mara held the flashlight while Cal cleaned the flanges and positioned the new gaskets. At midnight, headlights crossed the cellar window. The front bell rang. Mara climbed the stairs expecting a heating technician who had reconsidered his schedule, or perhaps a miracle that invoiced by the hour. Brent and Owen stood on the porch. Owen carried 2 electric heaters and a canvas tool bag. Brent held a folder beneath his arm. "How did you know?" Mara asked. "Owen drove past after a job," Brent said. "Half the windows are dark. We're conserving circuits. Is the boiler out?" "Pump." Owen lifted the heaters. "These are lower wattage. You can run one upstairs." Mara opened the storm door. Rosa stood in the hall. "Which part is help?" Owen held up the heaters. Rosa looked at Brent's folder. "And which part is business?" Brent stepped inside before Mara answered. Snow melted on his boots. "The developer can place everyone in a hotel tonight," he said. "No charge. If Mara accepts the sale agreement, the relocation payments increase by 1,000 each." Owen closed his eyes. "You brought another offer?" Mara asked. "I brought a solution. You brought paperwork into a house without heat." "Exactly. You are 1 frozen pipe away from damage you cannot afford. If that boiler doesn't restart, the plumbing goes. The tenants end up in a hotel anyway, except nobody pays them to leave." Mara heard the cellar hose stop running. Cal called her name. "I'm busy." Brent caught her arm before she turned. She looked at his hand. He released her. Mara, this is the point where stubborn becomes selfish. A month earlier, the sentence would have sent her into motion. She would have argued, defended, listed every sacrifice until one of them sounded large enough to purchase the right to decide. Instead, she called toward the dining room. There's another offer. People emerged carrying blankets and coffee. Leon came from his room with Walter's boiler manual in one hand and his cane in the other. Brent explained the hotel, the increased payments, the agreement contingent on Mara's sale. Priya listened. Marjorie asked which hotel. Winston asked how long the rooms were guaranteed. Darnell asked what happened to their belongings. Evelyn asked whether the hotel allowed hot plates. Brent answered what he could. The guarantee lasted 5 nights. Storage would be covered for 30 days. No hot plates. Rosa looked at Mara. Do you want to sell? No. Then no, Rosa said. The others answered in turn. No, not tonight. No hotel, no agreement. Brent looked at Leon. Your room is 59 degrees. Leon checked the thermometer Priya had given him. 58. And you're staying? I have a cardigan. This isn't funny. No, it is cold. Leon handed the manual to Mara. They need page 23. Brent stared at the returned folder in his own hands. You coach them, he said. Mara laughed once. They barely let me coach the grocery list. Cal called again from below. Mara! She turned to Owen. Did you come to help or sell? Owen set the heaters on the floor. Help! Take off the company jacket. What? I don't want Cal thinking you know the boiler. For the first time that night, Owen smiled. He removed the jacket and followed her downstairs. Brent remained in the hall. Rosa held the front door open. You can leave the folder, she said. We need paper for the fireplace. We don't have a fireplace, Evelyn said from the stairs. Then he can take it. Brent looked toward the cellar door, where Owen had disappeared. You're staying? He called. Owen did not answer. Brent left alone. In the cellar, Cal had fitted the new pump. Water dripped from one flange. Gasket shifted, he said. I need another set of hands. Owen crouched beside him. Tell me where. You know hydronic systems? No. Excellent. No bad habits. Mara read the refill sequence from Walter's manual. Owen held the pump alignment while Cal tightened the flange. Winston controlled the supply valve. Leon sat at the top of the stairs, turning pages and reading Walter's margin notes through his glasses. Grandpa wrote, Farthest radiator first, Mara said. That's for bleeding air, Cal replied. We're not there yet. He underlined it twice. Walter underlined serial coupons. He knew this boiler. So did the manufacturer. They refilled the system. Pressure rose. The repaired flange held. Cal restored power. The new pump hummed. For 3 seconds, nothing else happened. Then the boiler fired with a deep, steady roar. Everyone exhaled. A pipe above them hammered violently. The pressure needle jumped. Cal killed the power. What happened? Priya called from upstairs. Airlock, Cal said. Maybe several. The house temperature had fallen to 55. Mara looked at the manual. Farthest radiator first. Room 8, she said. Evelyn's radiator is farthest. Cal handed her a bleed key. Open it slowly. Priya takes 6, Darnell 7. Winston, stay here. Owen, hold that light. They moved room by room, floor by floor, releasing trapped air in the sequence Walter had written. Evelyn held a towel beneath her valve. Darnell counted seconds. Priya called temperatures down the stairwell. Leon checked each room off on his emergency sheet. Mara reached the final radiator in Leon's downstairs room and turned the key. Air hissed, then water touched the towel. Done, she called. Cal restarted the boiler. The pump hummed. Pipes trembled. One radiator clicked, then another. Heat moved through the house not as a dramatic blast, but as a gradual change beneath 8 sets of hands. Cal watched the pressure gauge. Stable, he said. Mara stayed crouched beside Leon's radiator until warmth reached her palm. Above her, people began laughing, not loudly, more from exhaustion than victory. Owen came to the doorway, Walter's manual tucked under one arm. You did it, he said. Mara looked toward the cellar, the stairs, the rooms where everyone had carried a piece of the repair. No, she said, we did. The warmth spread slowly beneath Mara's hand. It reached Leon's room first, then the parlor, Then the dining room, where 2 electric heaters had turned 9 adults into a blanket-wrapped jury. Priya reported each rising temperature as if calling election results. Room 6 is 58. Kitchen 60, Darnell called. Room 8 is still unacceptable, Evelyn said. Room 8 was unacceptable in July, Cal replied. By 2:30, the boiler had completed 6 clean cycles. The new pump hummed without clicking, grinding, or issuing opinions. Cal remained beside it through every cycle, one hand near the emergency switch. Owen sat on an overturned bucket, holding the flashlight even after nobody needed it. Mara brought them coffee. "You can go home," she told Owen. "I know, Brent will be angry. He's already angry. That's not the same as being angry at you." Owen took the coffee. "It's becoming familiar." Cal glanced between them. "Family discussion?" "No," Mara and Owen said together. "Good. I've had enough of those." At dawn, snow covered the side yard and softened the dead hydrangeas into white mounds. The boarding house windows glowed against the gray street. Mara stood on the porch in Walter's robe, breathing air cold enough to hurt. Owen came out wearing his Bell Sun's jacket again. "He'll call," he said. "Brent? Dad?" Mara tightened the robe. "He knows how." Owen stepped off the porch, then stopped. "I'm sorry about the envelopes." It was not the full confession she had once wanted from him. He did not say he had been manipulated or misunderstood. He stood in the snow and owned the peace that belonged to him. "You should be," Mara said. "I know. You helped last night. I know that too." She nodded toward his truck. "Go sleep." He did. The heating technician arrived Saturday and inspected Cal's work. He tightened one fitting, adjusted the system pressure, and said the installation was sound. Cal received an invoice for the inspection and stared at it. "I liked him better before he charged us," he said. Mara entered the amount into the public budget. She also entered Cal's hours. He tried to reduce them. She restored the original number and paid him in 2 installments, each recorded separately from his rent balance. By February, Cal had repaid half of what he owed. Val hired him to repair the Bluebird's walk-in refrigerator after its fan began making what Mara described as a judgmental scream. He fixed it overnight. Val referred him to 2 restaurant owners and warned both that he was rude but accurate. For the first time since Mara met him, Cal had work scheduled more than a week ahead. He complained constantly. The house survived winter by refusing to improve all at once. The roof remained beneath its blue tarp. The porch column received a temporary brace. A plumber replaced the worst valve, but left 3 others on the list. Evelyn's window trim waited until March. Darnell's blackout shade went up crooked, and he kept it that way because, he said, the angle proved he had not paid retail. The new rents began. Nobody liked them. Everyone paid. Winston's amount rose and fell with his moving schedule, according to a written arrangement, instead of a conversation Walter might or might not remember. Priya's increase stayed at $10 until she finished her nursing exams. Marjorie paid on the 10th and no longer apologized for it. Every expense affecting the house appeared in the office window. Mara still made mistakes. She paid the trash company twice and had to argue for a credit. She ordered the wrong furnace filters. She tried to repair a plaster crack before watching Cal's tutorial and dropped wet compound into her hair. She also learned. She opened the overdue tax notice instead of hiding it, called before the next deadline, and arranged monthly payments the house could actually carry. She stopped using diner tips to quietly fill every gap. If the repair reserve could not afford something, she posted it. If a tenant wanted the work sooner, they discussed what moved down the list. Sometimes the answer was no. Walter had rarely said no directly. He said later, after winter, when things settled down. Mara learned that a clean no bruise less than a hopeful lie. The 2 small rooms off the rear landing had held broken furniture and roofing supplies for years. One had no working outlet. The other contained a sink disconnected before Mara was born. When the dining room was restored, they moved the useful storage into labeled shelves in the cellar and cleared both rooms. Mara slept in the smaller one, while Cal repaired room 1. She discovered she liked it. The window faced east, and bakery trucks did not shake that side of the house. By spring, the larger room had been rewired, replastered, and approved for occupancy. Its rent went entirely into roof payments. The new tenant was a 51-year-old overnight dispatcher named Denise Holloway, who worked 3 blocks away and owned more houseplants than furniture. Rosa interviewed her longer than Mara did. You are not management, Mara reminded her. I am ventilation. For what? Bad decisions. Denise moved in with 14 plants and no curtains. Evelyn supplied curtains within an hour. Bell Sons returned in April. The company had lost a crew, sold one truck, and moved its office into the older half of the warehouse. It had not collapsed, which disappointed the part of Mara that wanted consequences to arrive with cinematic accuracy. Instead, Brent worked longer hours and became sharper around the edges. Owen handled more clients. Dennis came in twice a week to do paperwork and criticize everyone's coffee. Mara accepted the phased roof bid after the house saved enough for a deposit. Winston hauled debris at cost. Bell Sons agreed to monthly payments because Mara had paid every smaller invoice Owen submitted through winter. Brent did not come with the crew. Owen did. On the first morning, he stood in the side yard examining the old aluminum ladder. "Where's the wooden one?" he asked. "Painting." "Good." Cal came out with coffee. "Your crew drops one nail, Winston checks your tires." "I heard." Mara signed the work order at the stainless kitchen table. Rosa read it over her shoulder before permitting the signature. The rear valley took 4 days. Rotted decking came off in black, splintering sections. Beneath it, the house looked frighteningly open to the sky. Mara watched from the yard until Owen ordered her to stop distracting the crew. "I'm the owner. You're staring holes into people working around holes. I can carry debris. You can stay off the roof." She carried debris. On the last afternoon, the blue tarp came down. Cal folded it rather than throwing it away. "Walter would have kept it," he said. Nobody argued. Owen stood beside Mara in the second-floor bathroom while she examined the ceiling that had started everything. The damaged plaster had been removed, but the final finish work remained. "No water," he said. "It hasn't rained. It will tonight." "You scheduled by the forecast?" "I'm a roofer. Weather is half the job." She looked up through the repaired ceiling opening. "Grandpa asked you to keep patching it." "Yes." He should have listened. "Yes. I should have believed you sooner." Owen leaned against the doorframe. "I wanted you to take the cash." "I know. I thought you'd lose the house. Then we'd lose the sale anyway, and everybody would be worse off. That remains possible. Ask me in 30 years. He smiled. Rain began after midnight. Mara woke and went to the bathroom with the emergency flashlight. The tub was dry. The ceiling stayed quiet. Cal appeared behind her in sleep pants and a sweatshirt. "You checkin' my roof?" she whispered. "Owen's roof. Traitor." They stood listening to rain strike shingles instead of buckets. Dennis arrived the following Sunday. Mara was sanding the repaired bathroom ceiling when Leon called from downstairs. "Your father is on the porch." The sanding block stopped in her hand. She climbed down, dusted plaster from her jeans, and found Dennis standing outside the storm door, holding a stack of mail secured with a rubber band. He looked older than he had at the funeral. Not dramatically, more white showed at his temples, and his coat hung looser at the shoulders. Mara wondered whether he had always looked tired, and she had simply interpreted it as authority. "I brought these," he said. "You could have mailed them?" "They were mailed. To Walter's house." "Your house." Dennis looked through the glass toward the parlor. Leon sat in Walter's chair reading the Sunday paper. Denise's plants filled the front window. Someone had painted the radiator cover green. "You change things." The radiator cover? The house. Mara opened the storm door enough to take the mail. Dennis did not release it immediately. "Brent says you're making payments on the roof." "Yes." "You should have used Bell Sons from the beginning." Brent blocked the account. He was protecting the business. From me, from debt. Mara pulled the mail free. Was there something else? His jaw set in the familiar way. "You made your point, Mara." "What point?" "This. Staying here. Refusing the offer. Getting the tenants involved against your brothers. They made their own decision. You put them in the middle of family business. They were the business. That was the part nobody understood." Dennis looked away toward the street. "Your mother would hate this." Mara's grip tightened on the envelopes. Dennis used her mother's absence like a witness who could not be cross-examined. "You don't get to bring her here for this. She believed family should stay together. You told me I wasn't family. I was angry. So was I. You were willing to let your brother's company fail over a building. No, I was unwilling to evict 8 people to rescue a company Grandpa already gave them. 9 now, from what Owen says. 9. Dennis rubbed one hand over his mouth. come to dinner Thursday. The invitation startled her. Why? Because you're my daughter. Am I? Don't do that. You turned it into a choice, Dad. The keys or you. I said something I regret. It was close to an apology. Close enough that the old Mara might have completed it for him. Then say what you regret. Dennis looked at the door, at Leon beyond it, at Rosa entering the hall with a basket of folded towels. His discomfort rose visibly. I regret that this got so far. Mara nodded. That's not the same. You want me to beg? I want you to know what you did. You walked out. You told me to. You could have come back. The condition was giving up the house. You picked strangers. They weren't strangers to Grandpa. They aren't strangers to me. Dennis's face hardened. So that's it? This is your family now? Mara looked through the storm door. Rosa had stopped beside Leon, pretending to sort towels. Cal stood halfway up from the cellar. Priya had come down with a notebook under one arm. They were all listening badly. Mara almost smiled. I already came home, she said. Dennis stared at her. She did not slam the door. She did not make him smaller than he was. She simply stood on the porch without surrendering the space beneath her feet. At last, he nodded once. He walked to his car alone. The annual porch supper fell on a warm evening in May. They unfolded Walter's dining table and carried it outside. Rosa made chicken. Darnell brought bread. Priya, who had passed her exams, arrived in new scrubs and refused to let anyone make a speech about them. Marjorie hung paper lanterns from the repaired porch roof. Winston parked his truck at the curb to block the wind. Cal handed Mara an envelope. She opened it. The final $300 of his back rent sat inside. You don't have to pay all of this tonight, I know. She wrote him a receipt. He read it twice, folded it carefully, and put it in his wallet. Owen arrived late carrying a sealed box of roofing nails. Rosa inspected it. Why? Walter complained last year that we never replaced what we used. You brought nails to dinner? I brought bread too. Darnell took the loaf from him and squeezed it. Store-bought. I roof. Sit at the far end. Owen sat. A Bell Sons truck slowed at the corner. Brent was driving. He looked toward the porch, saw Owen at the table, and continued without stopping. Mara watched until the truck disappeared. Then Leon asked her to pass the beans. The house behind them was not beautiful. One porch column still needed replacement. The upstairs wallpaper peeled near Evelyn's door. The tax balance would take another year. Rain had left pale stains on the bathroom ceiling that no paint had yet covered. It was warm. It was solvent. It was full. After dinner, Mara carried cups into the hall. Walter's brass keys hung on their hook beside the office, no longer an ultimatum clenched in her fist. From the porch, Rosa called, Mara, coffee, coming, and sugar. Mara reached automatically into the pocket of Walter's blue robe, which she had thrown on against the evening chill. Her fingers closed around a paper packet she did not remember putting there. She stood for a moment beneath the bright hallway bulb, listening to chairs scrape. Owen laughed at something Leon said, and Cal argued with Darnell about bread. Then Mara carried the sugar outside.